Hello and welcome along to the F1 Esports Pro Series Quali Show presented by Aramco. Yesterday we had all kinds of action kicking off. Today we focus on Monza, the Temple of Speed. Nat Pinkham was calling it yesterday. I'm taking that as gospel. And of course it's just myself, not just myself even. It's Nick Hamilton. Don't know why I said it's just myself.
It's just myself and I.
Wow. I'm just so used to carrying the show. I'm joking. Nick. And,
very rude.
I've started off as I mean to go on, haven't I? It's Mr. Nick Hamilton and Tom Deacon. Nick, we'll get to you first. How did you enjoy yesterday? It was pretty chaotic, especially Silverstone. We had a few big talking points.
Yeah, especially the last couple of corners of the race was incredible. It was great to see different strategies coming into play. You know, especially Danny Moreno on his soft tyres, making them work, making them last as well. But also, you know, Spa and Danny Berezne's last move into the bus stop chicane, taking P2 away from Kiefer. Yeah, it was a fantastic night.
Yeah, it was. And Tom, you've actually joined us for the start of the show. You've decided to turn up on time and sit on your little sofa. You've brought your notes, as always, Tom's trusty notes.
And I've gone for a little jacket. It's very cold in this studio, so I didn't want to be too nippy, if you see what I mean. My highlight yesterday was doing the touchscreen with Sir Nick Hamilton.
Sir?
Yeah.
Have you been knighted since yesterday?
Well, we just got this agreement, because we're going to be mugged off by you on this show, we've decided we're going to back each other up.
I don't mug off Nick that often. He mugs me off. It's just the other way around. We all mug you off.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
Kind of
yeah, I've noticed what's happened. I have been here. I've witnessed it. But for me, remarkable stuff from Nicholas Longo getting his maiden win in F1 Esports, finished second in Hanoi and last season as well when he was driving for Renault. But again, those moments I've seen the Red Bull team beginning to make mistakes can be costly, but then seeing that brilliant race in Spa, and then, as Nick said, Danny Berezny just doing enough to get second place. Just epic stuff.
Yeah, the Silverstone was, of course, the first Grand Prix we saw yesterday, and it looked like it was a Red Bull pretty much solid 1-2 on the horizon, and it's probably the first time this season that we've seen that chink in the armour from both of them. It wasn't just a mistake from Kiefer or Rasmussen. The pair of them got penalties, and how Alfa Romeo came out of that race, Nick, with more points than Red Bull was just mind-blowing.
Yeah, and that's a big blow for them, isn't it? Because they've taken the lead of the championship, Constructors' Championship, and they had it all in the bag at the point, didn't they? Really, but yeah, it shows that they are human, and they do make mistakes. Kiefer making quite a big mistake, I would say, in the pit lane. That's something quite simple in his eyes, I would say, is making sure you get down to speed limit. And a 3-second penalty is an easy time to give away, really frustrating. And then maybe as well, with Rasmussen, actually getting that penalty because of extending too much, but when he was defending from Moreno. So that's also another sort of schoolboy error. Maybe he over-defended a little bit and put himself on the back foot. But yeah, it was incredible, really. But I think a good job from Alfa Romeo to pick up the pieces.
Schoolboy error.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
It's usually me that's annoying the drivers, but Nick started off well. Let's take a look, if you did miss yesterday, which I'm very angry if you did, let's take a look at the Silverstone qualification highlights and what occurred throughout. So in Q1, because this was all live on the Quali Show, but if you did miss it, which we'll let them off, won't we?
Look, you've had your warning.
Yeah, one warning, then you're out.
Yeah, you'll get a 3-second penalty. I think to pick up from what Nick said, oddly enough, you compare Red Bull to Alfa Romeo at the moment, and Red Bull are delivering in the quali, and that's what this show is all about. And yet Alfa Romeo not quite qualifying as we expect. Jarno Opmeer way down in Silverstone. I think 16th he started in P16, or that was definitely for Spa as well. And they're not delivering in qualifying and having to do it all in the race, and that's the difference. Whereas a couple of mistakes are coming in from Red Bull, but yet Alfa Romeo are dominating in the actual race, and I think that's just interesting to look at.
Yeah, I think it's harsh to say that Alfa Romeo haven't been delivering. I think definitely for Silverstone and Spa they were lacklustre, especially with Jarno. We've got to know him as this guy that we expect to be in the top 3 every single time, and this week has been a bit of a slip up from the Alfa Romeo drivers. But then at the same time, Danny Berezne has kind of stepped up to the plate. Maybe still not been, hasn't been on pole, but he's been there or thereabouts. Spa in particular was a great race from him.
But you don't want to be leaving it, and I'm sure Nick will back me up, you don't want to be leaving it to the race to be working your way up the grid. Like Nick mentioned, Red Bull had it all to do. We expected them to score more points, and yet Alfa Romeo outscored them because of some mistakes there. So I just think it's exciting, delivering qualify, and you have to deliver in the race as well. And that is expecting so much of them, but that's what we expect. really from these pros.
That's the thing. They were relying on Red Bull to slip up more than beating them on pace. Isn't that right, Nick?
Yeah, and that's why I said with Rasmussen, it's like a schoolboy error, because these guys they're like aliens. They're so fine in terms of their detail that they take, the attention to detail they have, and you never see them making any proper mistakes. You don't see any spins from them or anything like that. So really costly mistakes, such as a 3-second penalty, is something that they're definitely going to be ruined. But what's really interesting, I've sort of seen in the last couple of races, is the edge that Jarno Opmeer has had previously with his alternate strategy, you know, going longer on those medium tyres and then coming through on the soft tyre. He's actually struggling with that recently, which is making his qualifying now even more important, because we're expecting him to come through after a bad qualifying, but he's actually struggling to do that. So he really needs to pick up his game for Monza, and make sure that he puts himself in the right position to continue his title fight.
Absolutely, I think it's fair to say. Sorry, Tom.
I was just going to point at you to let you know that the pen's ready. I'm going to put it for, let's go for blue for happy.
Okay. Blue for happy.
Sure. Well, my choices were green, black or red. I don't know which one you'd go for.
Green? Green's positive. Green's like a personal best in a sector, right?
Correct. Right, here we go. Haas, in green. Floris Vyers, Simon Weigang, yes please, thank you very much. Didn't quite work out in the race for Floris Vyers, but that was good to see. Promising from a team that are consistently, for the last 2 years, not been delivering, finally turning a corner. Thank you.
Turning a corner. I like what you're doing there. Weigang in particular has been stepping up. Let's take a look at the race and what happened for the British Grand Prix after we just saw what happened live in the quali show yesterday. And it was an interesting one. It really was. Red Bull, as I mentioned earlier in the show, looked like they had it pretty much in the bag. They put themselves in the position after qualifying. Rasmussen and Kiefer in first and third at this moment in the race. Danny Berezne needed to perform with Jarno Opmeer all the way down the field, and Danny Moreno's strategy, Nick, was really intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, to come in so early, what was it, lap 4?
This was a bit sketchy as well.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. I don't think he planned to do it. It was a last-minute decision, potentially, and that's really cost him his race, and has put Red Bull on the back foot.
And he got a speeding penalty as well. He did slow down in time, but then appeared to slow down a little bit too quickly and then accelerated and then was over the speed limit. So unfortunate for Kiefer there. Freddie Rasmussen pitting at the end of lap 7. And he actually came out behind Nicolas Longuet, and then the battle ensued, didn't it, between Longuet, Rasmussen, Moreno and Kiefer, of course, with that penalty. Rasmussen picked up a penalty right at the death of the race as well, but it was such an intriguing battle. We thought Longuet doesn't really have much to lose in terms of the Drivers' Championship, and he really wanted that win, didn't he, Tom? Yeah,
he did, and you know, going into this, I wouldn't say he's got a lot to prove, because he hasn't. I think the pressure's off him. He was at Renault, got a second place, would have got a podium in his first ever race, and at which point you think he signed for Renault, sorry, he was Red Bull last year, and at which point you're thinking, well, he's got nothing to prove, but he's got the pace, he's got the talent, and now getting to deliver is what we want to see.
Absolutely, and this was the battle. Rasmussen didn't have a penalty at this point, and it was brilliant to see side by side through Stowe, and they continue to battle into Vale, and it was just a battle we love to see between these two. We expect, maybe for the championship storyline, it would have been better to be Opmeer and Rasmussen side by side, but then Moreno gets in the picture. At this point, Nick, I'm thinking Danny Moreno's taken the lead.
Yeah, it's a shame. I thought he had the slingshot, didn't he, really? But maybe he thought better of it. He knew that this could potentially be his first podium and didn't want to throw it away. But
quickly on this one, sorry, Nick. Do you think Renault should have been on the blower at this point, going, Longuet, you don't need to fight him?
Yeah, maybe they were. Maybe they were on the blower.
Stop!
But Longuet wants to win it on track. Why not?
Yeah, it was close though, wasn't it? Moreno got a nice run on him as well, and one more lap, and Moreno could have been taking the lead, but he was still very happy with second. A great result for McLaren Shadow.
Yeah, we saw Rasmussen just covering the webcam, wasn't happy with those mistakes, but I think it's that maiden victory. It's the maiden victory for Nicolas Longuet. It says, do you know, I want to win this. I want to prove myself to any doubters at all. Yet, in our heads, we'd all be thinking, just play it safe, but you can't, because the margin of errors and the difference between these drivers is so minuscule. You have to go for it, send it.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicolas Longuet taking the win by 1/10 of a second in the end from Danny Moreno, who thrust himself into the limelight, it has to be said, the rookie for this season. Danny Beresne, I don't think he would have expected third place come the end of that race, but of course penalties for both Rasmussen and Kiefer demoted them down to 6th and 7th, and with that, didn't score as many points as Alfa Romeo, with Jarno Opmeer collecting a couple down in 9th as well. Brendan Lee always seems to be in the top 10, but not the end of the top 10 that he would like to be. But Spa we'll take a look at shortly, and it was a much better performance from him there. And there's the second page. And James Baldwin said after the couple of races we saw yesterday that it was his worst sim racing day in his career, which is obviously something that I'm sure he'll try to bounce back from, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. He will see that Moreno is getting stronger, doing a good job. He's had a podium now, hasn't he? And a couple of top 5 finishes, top 5 finishes. And he'll want to be the one that's having those top 5 finishes and carrying the team forward and not having those bad days. But it is motorsport. Everybody does have a bad day every now and then. Tom, you look like you're having a bad day every now and then sometimes.
Every time he's on this show.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, yeah. You know, when you work with colleagues that bring you down a little bit sometimes,
Who's that?
Oh, no one on this show, but
Good.
just on other shows.
That's a good answer. Good answer.
I'm picking up from what Nick said. Yeah, Danny Moreno delivering. It does put a little bit of pressure on another driver of the same team, what he can do and show. But yeah, interesting there for Lucas Blakely for Racing Point, just missing out on a point there. It hasn't been his season so far, and I'm hoping he was going to do something in Spa, but I don't think he was able to, and maybe he can do that for Monza today.
Yeah, lots more talking points, and we're going to bring in Natalie Pinkham, and we're taking social distancing to another level with where you are on the desk.
Can you hear me?
Just about. How did you enjoy the British Grand Prix, Nat, and all the shenanigans?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, it's fantastic for them to race on such an iconic circuit. I love this trio of circuits, I have to say. Yeah, great to see Longuet get that maiden win. Another example of just how tight this field is, the 5th winner in 8 races. It's great to see. Surprised and disappointed by Jarno Opmeer's performance of late. I think to your earlier point, his strategy has worked so far, but it's what he does now when it's not working, how he adapts that is the real sign of a true champion, to see whether he can pick himself back up for the remainder races of the season. But no, it's been good, hasn't it? But it's nice to be in on the quali show.
I know, it's
even
great
if
to
I'm
have
not
you.
actually in on the quali.
If it was my choice, Tom wouldn't be here and you would.
Everyone's hammering you today, Tommy.
No,
I promised him before we went live that
Yes.
he would be getting a hammering today.
Yeah, that's.
Why does he deserve that?
Well, I don't really, but do you know what? Listen, I've been typecast. This is the role I play, and I'm happy for it. And actually, if anyone's worried or messaging now saying, I'm really worried about Tom, don't be. I'm
not
water
sure
off a
anyone
duck's
is.
back. Oh, are they not? Well,
let me
that's-
just... No.
Yeah.
Anyway, we moved from Silverstone to Spa now, which was our second race yesterday. But let's take a look at how qualifying unfolded, which again was live on this beautiful, wonderful quali show.
Is it great though? Is it great though, Matt?
Oh, well, apparently I'm more great than Alex Jakes, according to what you said yesterday, which threw, I think, everybody in the entire studio. But here we are, Q1. And Danny Moreno will be very disappointed with his performance in general for Spa, considering his amazing British Grand Prix, P2, and 18 points on the board for McLaren Shadow. And how do you pick yourself up from such elation, Nick, to then being kind of even brought back to reality a little bit?
Yeah, but it's the roller coaster of motorsport. It happens to a lot of drivers.
Look at that look from Brendan Lee.
Yeah, and especially Brendan Lee. You know, he put himself on the back foot, didn't he, in Q1? Because I think, he got a penalty on his first lap, and he only had 1 lap to do it, and he did, to put himself out of Q1. So a good job for him.
I'm worried about Joni Tormula. What's
Here we
happened
go.
to Joni Tormula?
What, is Joni Tormula's seat under threat? Is that what we're about to say?
No, I'm
Go on,
not.
do it.
He's
Get on the
got
blower.
Kalila there, Patrick Holtzman. I want to see Patrick come into this at some point. But yeah, Joni Tormula will be disappointed in himself. You can see Fab Donoso. He hasn't been a happy chappy so far in the competition. And that's what Nat says is how you adapt. When things are going well, don't change it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But when things are not going right, how do you adapt? And that's, as she said, a real testament to the driver.
But this just shows the quality of drivers that we have and how hard the field is, because you've got Alvaro Carreton, who was on pole in Austria.
Yeah.
You know, fantastic lap. And been struggling, was pretty much nowhere in Spa. And the same, Danny Moreno, who got his first maiden podium, but then nowhere in qualifying. It just shows the level we're at, and day in, day out, or event in, event out, you have to make sure you perform. And if you don't, you can only be a couple of tenths off, and you're right at the back.
Absolutely, and it's great to see sometimes, and I love the fact of how close this whole field is, that occasionally we'll go to a different track and we'll have a Danny Moreno getting a great result. That's what we love to see, is not necessarily the underdog, but it's a rookie, and it's great to see that they get that limelight and that amazing podium as well. So how do they keep that momentum? Because, I mean, we've seen it. For example, Patrick Holtzman, I'd say he had decent momentum from the start. He begun right from the beginning, didn't he? He was involved with Red Bull, and he has podiums to his name.
I think it's when I presented him with the DHL fastest lap winner of the year, the most DHL fastest laps. I think that he was broken at that point. He was just like, I don't want the fastest lap. Like James Baldwin will be looking at Silverstone and going, I don't really want this. I want to be further up the grid. It's the consistency, and also to pick up your point, Matt, when you said about this is really Nicolas Longue's first season, really. Jarno Opmeer drove for Renault last year, but now we're seeing a completely different driver. You need that first year sometimes. However, what about David Tanitsa? Comes straight into the F1 Esports and bosses it. So it can work for certain drivers, and I love it when we get a different winner.
Absolutely. And what do you make of David Tanitsa so far, Nick? Because he had that amazing performance at Vietnam when he won, but that's pretty much all the points he's scored the entire season. So what do you make from someone that won the championship last year on a massive high? What do you reckon is the reason behind this, not potentially lack of performance, but just lack of results? Is it just not working for him this year?
Well, don't forget, to start with, at Bahrain, was it first race? Bahrain?
It was
just wrong place, wrong time. And as a champion coming in to try and defend your title, that's not the best place to start, is it? Where he's pretty much faultless or defenceless, let's say. And that really hindered him. And then we went to Shanghai, and I think Ferrari had that technical issue.
They did, yeah.
And I think they were in the top 4 at the time and ended up dead last. So it's been difficult, and then he came back in Hanoi. I tell you what, I've got a good memory. I'm new on this.
That is the one thing. I bring these notes. Look at Nick, just one run through.
Just winging it.
This is what we do on the show. We bring you down and we just big each other up.
That's what a bubble is all about. I love being part of this bubble. P4 in Spa and in Silverstone, it's whether he can turn those into. So he's qualifying well.
Yeah. And so he's thereabouts, and it's been up and down for him, but he's still got that calibre and that strong pace that we know he's got. Sorry, Tom, to butt in.
Now, before we go into the race highlights from Spa, I can see Nat eagerly
Shall I wave the flag when I want to make a point?
To ask a question. Go on, Nat.
No, I just wanted to compare it to the Nico Rosberg, because when he won the 2016 title, he did say, I summited my Everest. Where do I go from here? And you do feel like you've got a target on your back when you're champion. Obviously, for someone like Lewis, he revels with that pressure and he rises to the challenge and wants to go again and take another title. But I do think a lot of champions come into the next season perhaps feeling an additional pressure that they didn't feel before. They've got nothing else to prove, yes, but they need to defend that title, and sometimes that's quite hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it depends what the motivation is, isn't it? You know, some of these drivers will be here to make a living. They might be here just to finish in a good spot and then, pay the bills. But others have that pure raw motivation to constantly practice. And even if you win, I mean, we've seen it with Brendan Lee. He's won twice, but then now he can't even get in the top 3 a lot of the time. So
well, he said we're off the pace. As a team, we're off the pace coming into event 3 for Silverstone and Spa. He said we're off the pace, but we've made changes. And when we look at Spa and the result there, we were impressed with his drive. So actually, he's doing all he can. The fact he's not in the top 3 and we're not talking about him in the Drivers' Championship, it is odd, but yet he is putting in that time to try and make a difference.
Now, you may be wondering why we're just having a bit of a natter. It's not because we just like talking to each other. It's because they're qualifying.
I do as well, actually, Matt. Actually, we actually like talking.
You like talking? Surely not. Qualifying will be coming your way around 15:15, but we just had a few issues, but we're working around them and we will get qualifying to you very shortly. When we look to Monza, Nick. It's the Temple of Speed, as Nat coined it yesterday, and it's known. You were asking me if it actually is known as the Temple of Speed.
Yeah.
Is it, Nat? Is that the official?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
One of the titles, yeah.
One of many.
Yeah. It's a good one, isn't it?
It is.
Temple.
What do you expect?
I'm a worship of the Temple of Speed.
So we saw Spa, which is obviously quite a high-speed track as well in areas. Do you see that Monza will be quite an exciting race for overtaking, or do you think we'll see that DRS train where some of the drivers get lodged in this massive train where overtaking is very difficult?
You could see that. Obviously, it's got a lot of long straights, and you'll get into a really high speed at the end of those straights. But because these, honestly, I was watching yesterday, and these guys, they don't put a foot wrong, do they? So they potentially could just see themselves. Everybody's in that DRS train. That guy in front has got the DRS open. You can't, and you've got to try and use your ERS, or it runs out, or whatever. And so it could be difficult. But I think you're going to see a lot of drivers that are good on the brakes almost come out or come to the fore in Monza, because there's a lot of heavy braking zones, turn 1 and 2, and then turn 3 and 4. So there's going to be characteristics that come out in certain drivers that they're going to have to use to their benefit to make sure that they can take the advantage if they can't get past just purely on DRS.
Does anyone remember what Joni Tormala said about Austria? It wasn't his favoured track for his driving style, and I'm just curious whether Austria plays in a similar way to maybe the Temple of Speed. Is it similar? Do we know?
No.
Good. I don't think Tormala's back to form.
I don't think Austria and Monza are similar tracks, but yeah, it's still. The drivers still have to like the track and enjoy it and be able to be aggressive and confident under braking. And I mentioned that overtaking is very difficult. We'll actually take a look at the Belgian Grand Prix highlights, where it probably will look like overtaking was pretty easy. And let's see right now at the beginning of the race. And the DRS train that I was mentioning will obviously see past lap 3, because we saw the top 10 separated by 5 seconds at the end. It was very much a wedge that a lot of drivers were stuck in. Even Jarno Otmir on the aggressive strategy. Tanitsa did a brilliant move on Kiefer, and I did an insta-jinx commentary as I was bigging up Tanitsa at this point. Makes a mistake, Kiefer takes P3 back, Tom.
Yeah, it was just brilliant, because when we're coming into Spa, the same as 2019, the top 3 finished exactly as they qualified for, and I was curious to see if that was going to happen again. And that movement from Red Bull, you hear them on the comms, they're constantly discussing every strategy. Maybe it didn't go, well, as we know, it didn't go right at Silverstone, but for this race, they were just impeccable. They worked as a team. There was no, it was selfless, the way they went round the track and working as a team. And Danny Berezny just had to hold on as long as possible.
Absolutely, and I think it was, we might be able to see in the evening show later on some amazing team radio from the Red Bull drivers and how they're working together, making sure that they utilise both of their batteries to the absolute maximum to hold off the likes of Danny Berezny and the Alfa Romeo. Here's some brilliant battling between Longuet and Tanitsa, and there were some pretty audacious moves, Nick, in the midfield, but towards the front it was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you can see some drivers forcing it. Brendan Lee actually coming through, doing a really good job on his soft tyres. And going back to the ERS, this is Longuet, and you can see he hasn't got a lot of battery at all, and I think he's used it all up at the start of the race, and there's not a lot of heavy braking zones here where he could recharge that as such, because that gets recharged when you hit the brakes for a long period of time. So he sort of struggled to then be able to capitalise, and you can see now Brendan Lee making his way through, really good moves, going one direction, going left, then going right, and really recovered very well to get himself in the mix. But this is again Longuet in his same situation, used all the battery. He doesn't really have any more left, does he really? So Berezny could easily defend against him, but then made an amazing move and challenge as he saved all his battery for this last lap, got the job done and hung it round the outside, really elbows out to take P2.
That's the Danny Berezny we've come to know and love from seasons gone by. And, well, I activated another jinx in commentary by saying that it was a classy 1-2 from Red Bull. They hadn't put a foot wrong, and then Danny Berezne gets the slipstream and takes P2. It's just what I say. I just need to stop talking about specific drivers. There's the classification from the Belgian Grand Prix. Rasmussen ahead of Berezne and Kiefer rounding out the podium. Brendan Lee, as you mentioned, Nick, a brilliant result from him, a really aggressive one. The champion within definitely coming out around Spa. Jarno Opmeer was a decent drive from 10th up to 5th. Simon Weigang, he didn't really defend too aggressively to the likes of Lee and Opmeer coming through, but a decent 6th place, and, you know, for your favourite team, Haas.
8 more points, Matt. And also, don't forget, it's not over. Daniel Berezny's favourite saying is, it's not over until the big Danny sings. So don't forget that, Matt.
Bono Cuisse actually had a pretty decent race as well in 7th. Didn't really see much of him, but very much had like a Carlos Sainz of real life kind of race. We don't really see him, but he has a great result. David Tonitza in 8th, Nicholas Longuet in P9, and Michael Romanidis getting 1 solitary point for Williams. Philip Presneda, I think, will be a little bit disappointed, won't he, Nick, after a pretty stunning qualifying, getting himself in the mix up in P6, I think it was, but to come home in 11th, just 1 position away from scoring anything, must have hurt.
Yeah, the thing is, qualifying and racing is it's 2 different things, isn't it? And yeah, he did really well with his qualifying position. But, you know, these guys that he's up against are, they're warmed up, aren't they? We're halfway through the season, so when it comes to racing, they know what they're doing. Not saying that Presneda doesn't.
One strike and he's out, I'm afraid, guys. For me, personally, over here on this sofa, hot take, he's got to go out now. That's it. Matt, you agree with that? Or
I'm not saying anything. I'm not annoying anybody. There's James Baldwin. I mentioned earlier about his social media. Well, he was coming out on social media saying that it was the worst day in his sim racing career. He's looking to fight back. He won the DHL Fastest Lap Award, but that's probably a very small consolation prize considering. We've got 2 of them. Thank you very much, Tom. But both times because he's out of position.
Yeah.
So he's probably whacking on a fresh set of tyres, being able to set the fastest lap. That's not what he wants, Nick, does he? He wants to be scoring points, getting in the mix, which we know he can do, and he has that performance, but he just hasn't been able to get in the mix. And you have bad days in the office, don't you?
Yeah, and he's a real-life racing driver, isn't he? And he will know what he's capable of in a real-life situation, high-pressure situation. And not saying that it's going to be easier in esports sense, but he'll be sort of kicking himself because he knows if he can do it in real life, he can definitely do it when it comes to high-pressure situation in esports. So I think he will be making some improvements mentally and also just trying to improve himself generally for the races to come.
Now, I'm going to throw you a question.
Oh.
You might want to ask me a question, but don't worry. James Baldwin,
Yes.
how impressed have you been with the fact that he's been racing in British GT? He almost won the championship there. He was teammates with Jenson Button the weekend just gone. World's fastest gamer title. You know, you meet a lot of people, a lot of F1 drivers that juggle so many things. How difficult must it be for such a young guy, James Baldwin, trying to juggle all of these different things, F1 esports, real-life racing, and so on?
Don't talk to me about multitasking. Don't even go there. No, but actually what it does tell me is that there's a really interesting crossover between real life and the virtual world, and that's really interesting. Romain Grosjean was saying only today that they were doing some virtual gaming last night, and he's really excited about it as a prospect for after his Formula One career ends, which is looking like in 3 races' time. But about the race yesterday, how cool is Rasmussen when he wins? I never get it. He doesn't look in any way like...
His celebration is just exhaling.
Right,
that's all he does.
Right.
Just,
he's
thank God that's over.
yeah, he does almost look pretty fed up with it. I was about to wax lyrical yesterday about this dominant Red Bull performance, their innate understanding of teamwork. And look, of course, that's still there. They still did that. Excellent. But you'd have to say Berezne just popping up like that to sneak in for P2 was really impressive. And yes, Brendan Lee, great result. He needed it, didn't he, P4. And a good climb up into a decent haul of points for Jarno Opmeer, who you'd have to say so far has been disappointing the last couple of races.
Ooh.
No,
wow.
Sorry, that's not the spiciest.
By his own high
chill out.
He's been amazing, and then he's just had this weird dip in form.
That's an incredibly fair point from that.
Let's turn it into a question. Nick, why is that, do you think?
Wow.
He did not want that question.
See how I just passed that straight back?
Straight that to me. I don't know. You know, he's been the man on form, hasn't he? taken the lead, got quite a healthy lead in the championship.
Could it be nerves, Nick? Could it be the fact that he's finally seeing the end in sight? You know, we're well into the second half of the season now.
Yeah.
He hasn't won the championship before. Is it nerves?
Ala Jensen Button, 2009, he said he'd never felt so anxious than the latter part of the season when they were just hunting him down. He'd had that brilliant start to the year, and then as soon as his performances started to plateau a bit, and he felt the pressure from others, the nerves were out of control.
No, wing damage. That's my answer. He had wing damage in the race. I don't think he's lost his form. That's just my...
So what about in qualifying then? Qualifying P16 for Silverstone, P10 for Spa?
I think I mentioned qualifying. Alfa Romeo didn't get their strategies right for Spa and Silverstone, and I think they will learn from that because they don't want to leave it down to the race. I don't think they've lost their ability. It just happens. We know that grid is so ultra competitive. That I'm a backer of Jarno Opmeer. Yes, the points difference now with Rasmussen is only 13 points difference in the Drivers' Championship. Get off Jarno's back, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, you're good. You're good with the segues as well. So we're going to take a look at the Drivers' Championship standings right now. And Jarno Opmeer, as you say, 13 points ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. Marcel Kiefer 5 further back from that. And then you've got Longuet, who's had a decent haul of points in the last couple of races, of course, winning at Silverstone. He's hauled himself up to P4 and really carrying the fight for Renault. He's trying to secure third in the championship there, I'd say, in the Constructors. Then Danny Beresne, he'll be happier with 70 points after he was lacking in the sort of mid-30s before yesterday. Anyone else sticking out there for you, Nick?
Yeah, I would say Danny Moreno. I think he'll be very happy in P7, nipping at the heels with the same identical points as David Tonitza and ahead of Brendan Lee by a point. You know, he's really in the mix, isn't he? I think he's doing a great job for his debut season.
Well, coming into the season, I reckon if you said to Danny Moreno, you'll have the same points as the reigning champ going into round 9, I think he'd have taken that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think Simon Weigang.
Yes, yes.
Stop teeing him up.
Same points as Alvaro Carreton, which going into this stage of the season, almost 3/4 of the way through, same amount of points. Weigang is carrying that Haas team at the moment. And not to take anything away from Cedric Tomé, it's difficult, or Floris Vyers. But I want to see, I said it at the beginning, Haas to not be on the bottom of the drivers, the team championship.
Well, Simon Weigang's trying his best not to. Let's take a look at the team championship standings and how it sits after 8 rounds. Red Bull Racing 34 points ahead of Alfa Romeo, and then you have a pretty large margin back to Renault in third, and Mercedes P4 53 points just ahead of FDA Hublot Esports. It's weird to see that, isn't it? If you look a couple of years back, we were hoping Brendan Lee to stop winning just for the show, and now unfortunately they can't really seem to get many points. Tom, is it a surprise to you?
No, not really. I think since Danny Beresne left Mercedes, that 1-2 punch that they had dominated, and I'm not surprised by it. I think sometimes, Natalie said, you know, the pressure is on Jarno in many respects to deliver, and it is even more so now because Red Bull have won it this could be 3 years in a row, but it's an improvement for Alfa Romeo. They've got, in my opinion, you know, 2 very, very strong drivers in this pack. So it doesn't surprise me about Mercedes, but we saw from the form yesterday in Spa that Brendan Lee and Bonahuis are beginning to deliver.
Absolutely. I think the teams also are investing a lot, not just Mercedes. Mercedes was definitely first to the game in that, but now the other teams have learned, and you can clearly see from the Constructors' Championship that they've utilised that well. Let's take a look at the social media roundup now, and a few tweets from yesterday. First one from Formula One, and that's all about Danny Beresne back to form. The biggest point scorer, Nick, from yesterday, and some good momentum going into Monza today.
Yeah, he'll be very happy with that, won't he? Because he's he's struggled in the last couple of weekends or couple of events, and it's now time for him to get back on form, which he'll be very happy with.
Absolutely. And, well, I actually messaged him saying thanks. And he was like, I can't believe you've messaged me, Matt. I was like, Danny, we've known each other for years. What's wrong? Relax, mate.
Slide it in.
Bit of a name drop.
Yeah, that did feel like a massive clang there. But that's nice, though. That I think there is this camaraderie and a big family that there are. And the fact that he said, you know, why haven't you messaged him, Matt? That's also something I'd like to know.
Anyway, moving on. Another message or tweet, from Tiamat Mard UK. No, I'm joking. It's Tiamat Marduk. He hates it when I call it that. And he was very happy, especially with Danny Moreno just over Nat's shoulder there. Nat's really enjoying that tweet as well. So Ben, obviously the McLaren Shadow ambassador. And it was a big moment for McLaren to really show with the rookies that they've got some potential.
Don't forget, he's a cheerleader mainly on the team comms. He hates that as well.
We are not being nice to anybody on this show today, are we?
Yeah, but everyone knows now with the qualifying show, we're having a bit more fun and a bit more banter. But Freddie Rasmussen, there's an emoji at the end there.
Yeah, Nat, Freddie Rasmussen, that's probably that's most of the emotion we've seen, right?
Woo! Yes.
So
I'm really jealous. I wish I could be as calm as he. I would be like, dancing.
Yeah, fist pumps, all
That's
sorts.
probably why I'm not as good as him.
What do you mean, Nat? Are you not in the simulator every night?
No. Funnily enough, no.
And here's
he's a
tweet from
shoey!
Brian Campbell.
Stop it!
And this, well, it looks like a rather new shoe, to be honest, so I'm only half
he's
impressed.
got that technique all wrong. You're going to have major spillage here. Look, you've got to go. You've got to go at that end of the shoe and drink like that, because if you go like that,
it's
spillage.
Have you done many shoeys in your life, Nat?
Obviously. Yeah. So shoe like this.
Yeah.
I'll take my shoe off, but no.
Yeah.
Don't know what socks I've got on. And then tip like that.
Yes.
Why don't you
Don't tip like that.
Why don't you do a shoey right here, right now?
No.
I haven't won anything to celebrate. Not yet, anyway.
Got nothing to say.
Maybe at the end of the show.
What's the appeal of it? I did him on a stag do once. I was a best man for a stag do, and I didn't see the appeal, but I didn't win anything. I just survived. I think that's all I.
I have to say, I was so impressed when Lewis did it with Daniel. I didn't think he'd go anywhere near that.
I didn't think you'd go anywhere near that. I was so shocked.
That toe jam in there.
Toe jam's just the
Come on,
worst
guys.
phrase in the world, isn't it?
Punches up something of a
Horrible.
decent image, doesn't
A couple of
it?
Yakults, he'd have been fine.
If I said to Lewis, hey bro, drink out of my shoe, he would be like, are you joking? That is disgusting.
No, but he got major kudos for that.
No,
It was
he
good.
did well.
Not
Because
that he
Daniel
had
drinks
really
out of his own shoe. I mean, that's one thing. Lewis then drinking out of his shoes, just that's making me hooked. Anyway, let's focus on the Italian Grand Prix now, Monza. We can finally get there, I think, maybe, if we all behave. What are we expecting, Tom? I mean, Monza, you said it's like Austria, which probably...
No, what I said was it's just interesting. I'm trying to, as someone who's watched this for 4 years, to try and predict, forecast what's going to happen. And particularly when I'm not out in Joni Tourmalet, you joked and said, should he be going from that team? No, not
If you were
at all.
team principal, it'd just be musical chairs, wouldn't it? It'd just it'd be every lap.
I think, well, look, if I was the team principal of Alfa Romeo, you don't have to worry. Just Dominic Hoffman, it's okay, mate. You're part of this team, but we
enjoy the ride.
We got two brilliant drivers. You may get your chance at the end of the season if we've secured enough points. Red Bull, exactly the same situation. Williams have been shaking things up a little bit, and AlphaTauri, maybe now's the time. Not getting the successful races the last two. Biancolila, Tourmalet. I'd be if I was the team principal to say we're going to bring in Patrick Hosman to see what happens. Would you not, at that point, just shake things up if it's not working?
Yeah, especially if it's not working, there's no points being put on the board, then for sure, switch it around, see what happens. Monza is probably more about racecraft, isn't it, Nick, than actual pure, unbelievable talent and speed, because as long as you're in the right position and you get that draft, you can definitely be in the hunt. Yeah,
racecraft is key. But to go on to Tom's point, chopping and changing might... As a team manager, you might think it could help, but it might not fill your drivers with a lot of confidence, being like, I've had a bad race, and now my team don't believe in me.
And that's why he's not a team principal.
Yes, but at the same time, you kind of have to say, look, are you feeling confident about going into Monza? And if the driver says, I don't know, that hesitation, you need two drivers that are saying, I'm ready for this.
We saw it last year, didn't we, when Freddie was actually challenging for the Drivers' Championship, and he sacrificed his seat for one of the races because Nicolas Longuet had been practicing that track over and over and over. So maybe that is a tactic, Nick, where instead of practicing all of them and then being like, who's the fastest, put your resources with one driver into one track and then the other driver into another.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know F1 Esports enough to understand.
Hey, it's fine. You've soaked up a lot.
I've done well.
We're proud of you. But you know more than him already.
But what drivers practice for what circuits? Because if it is that case where you've got some drivers just really practicing on one circuit and one circuit alone, or a couple of circuits or whatever, then it might be good as a team to bring that driver in specifically for that race to benefit on the points. Yes, Nat, I'm gonna I see your hand.
I see you waving.
Thank you, sir. I have been hugely impressed about how they've been able to switch between the tracks so quickly. You see it in Formula One, but there's a week between them. They've got practice sessions to really get their eye in. And actually, these guys are just going from track to track. Very quick succession, aren't they?
Yeah, they said
which
it's a
is
sprint.
Impressive stuff. On Monza, I mean, this place, Charles Leclerc winning there in that sea of Tifosi in red.
Unbelievable.
Seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Because we haven't seen fans for so long. But the Tifosi, to give anyone who hasn't been any idea how crazy they are, I happened to come in one year with Rob Smedley into the track. Now, Rob Smedley could walk down the street in London and no one would bother, batter an eyelid. They wouldn't even recognise or notice him. He got lifted up onto their shoulders just because he worked for Ferrari. The passion there is palpable, but it's a great circuit, as you say, incredibly fast. The emphasis is very much on late braking, which I think makes it thrilling. And I love this idea of the tactics, the slipstreaming, the fact that you have to tactically get it right, and you can really benefit from it when you do.
Well, I've never been to Monza, so thanks for rubbing that in, Natalie.
Well, do something about that. Get it on your bucket list.
Oh, it's already there, don't you worry. Let's actually go to Monza right now, and David Tanitsa, who takes us round the track with a rather hot lap. And Nick, we can basically take us through it, and also some overtaking opportunities where the time can be gained and lost.
Yeah, I'm really happy because I've actually driven this circuit real life, European touring cars. It was
Does
amazing.
that count? I mean, I name dropped. Surely that's some.
No,
sort of-
No, that's just an achievement. That's
that's an
absolutely
achievement drop,
fine.
no?
No, that's fine though.
It's just
We're with you, Nick.
And you've been to Monza then, Nick?
Yeah,
yeah, great.
I've driven around here. It's absolutely amazing circuit. So yeah, I mean, it is all about confidence on the brakes and making sure you can carry enough momentum and good direction change. Yeah, second chicane, right, left and right, and not drop a wheel off the back of the curb, because then you're straight into the in gravel. This is the second Lesmo now, and it's really difficult to get the car in and rotate and get on the power early enough because it's a long back straight, and this is the second DRS. I believe.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, second DRS, and this is where you could get good overtaking opportunities into the left-hander. This is now the Ascari chicane, and there's a lot of commitment here. The rear always wants to move and get away from you through that right and left, but now you just got to be patient, look at your delta, and get ready for the parabolica, send it in fifth gear and get the front end hooked up, get on the power, and try not to run out too wide. And as you can see, David Tanitsa making sure that he minimises the line to the start line.
Yeah,
Sorry.
great. It's a short lap, a fast lap. I expect it to be a very close qualifying session. No moaning from me, I think, this time, Nick.
Well, you will.
So how did you see that? Is this your first time seeing Monza, Tom?
I've actually been. I think you're the only one who's not. No, I haven't. I haven't. Just for a second now. I think it'd be interesting to see whether the FDA Hublot team go with two Italians for this, who know potentially we do expect them to know this track a little bit better than Philipp Preschneider. My earlier kind of cheeky comment about Philipp Preschneider, I wonder if the FDA Hublot guys will go with the two Italians for this one. It looks fast. It looks like a right temple.
You're good. You're really good, you are. And an interesting point as well, Nick, is the fact that the drivers aren't allowed to do the slipstreaming techniques that we've seen in previous years. So it's all down to the drivers. But then you can also just accidentally catch another driver that's on a lap. So there's still positioning at play here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I actually don't know the restrictions in terms of how far away does the next car have to be for you to pick up a slipstream in this game. So you could be just following someone that you think is quite far ahead, but it might actually benefit you.
Yeah, it's a small benefit
all the way
for sure.
down the back straight. I mean, I enjoyed watching a couple last year the Esports and how perfect they use that strategy to get the toe. But it's great the fact that this year it's all down to the driver. But it's going to be difficult to stay out of everybody's way, I would say, at Monza, and try and make sure you're not giving a toe to someone behind without realising.
Now, if we didn't have enough people in this show, we have one more person, a man that I am very excited to introduce to the Quali show. We miss him very much from this F1 Esports Pro Series. It's Davide Valsecchi. Mr. Davide.
You
Guys, you are in fantastic shape. Congratulations.
Davide, how are you? Are you missing being here in the Gfinity Arena and getting stuck in?
For sure, coming in and have your company, guys. Yeah, I'm missing it.
Have you been watching
Happy?
any?
Yeah, all the races, and I'm very happy that you are going to race soon in Monza because my home race, and I'm an expert about it. So,
Okay, well, look,
fantastic place.
Davide, if you're an expert, take us through it. What can we expect from Monza?
Not easy to drive Ascari, having a good exit of Ascari, and then prepare the Parabolica. It's so easy to go little wide and having the lap cancelled. So, for the drivers, they need to take care about this white line on the exit of Parabolica because it's for nothing. You just overtake it and you have your lap time deleted. So exit of Ascari, exit of Parabolica, where you need in the race to be close to the car in front of you to have the DRS, I think is the key for winning this race, because usually, you know, the group is so compact in Monza. It's not easy to pull away, and usually the use of the DRS is the key to win the race, to take the position, and to fight for the podium.
So you reckon if it was the last lap, Davide, you're there in the simulator, you're getting stuck in, trying to win. Last lap, would you rather be P2 or P1?
No, P1 every time. No, it's easier to defend than to attack. But no, you know why? Because before the last lap is important to be second. So approaching the last lap on the straight, second position, have the DRS, being in the DRS zone under 1 second, and then attack for the first chicane. But on the last lap, you have to remember that under the checkered flag, the finish line is very early, just outside Parabolica. So in theory, if you're leading the race just after the last corner, they don't have any space to take your position back. So, in theory, if you approach the Parabolica in the leading position at the last lap, you're going to win this race.
Amazing insight, Davide. Nat's got a question for you.
Davide, firstly, I love the dog calendar.
I was about to mention that as well.
Love
it.
Secondly,
It's my one.
I thought you said it's my wife.
For in Italy, store, but his store is my one.
Listen, I just need to say that walking through the Monza paddock with Davide is like walking through Silverstone with Johnny Herbert. You get stopped every 2 feet because he's so popular and so well loved. I want to know from you, though, are you getting any sleep, new daddy?
I'm still struggling, but okay, I'm proud, I'm very happy. But sometimes, you know, I need to calm myself and say, Davide, we need patience because, you know, he's so small and so little and he's so young that he cannot control himself. Because sometimes...
Sounds like his dad.
Just, yeah.
Cannot control himself.
I don't know why. But okay, I think it's going to be better.
We miss you.
Yeah, we miss you very much. Davide, how old will he be till he gets into a simulator or some sort of go-kart, do you reckon?
I don't know. I think 4, something like this.
4 months.
To ask to Nicolas and to his brother, to be honest. But I think 4 or 5. If you have talent, you just go in and drive.
Oh, it's brilliant stuff. Davide, it's been awesome to chat to you. We miss you very much. We hope we can see you again soon. And best of luck for, well, getting some sleep.
You two guys, have a good show.
Ciao.
Thanks, Davide. Oh, it's brilliant to chat to Davide. He just brings such a smile on your face, doesn't he?
Every single time. I miss him in the studio, but we have got a very good replacement. I forget his name. But yeah, he's fantastic. Good, the great Alex Jakes. But what's brilliant is watching a scene on his Instagram, Davide's, pram, dog, babies in a pram. You can't imagine he'd be taking a few corners as he's out with the pram. Surely that's what happens, right? Nat, does that happen when you had pram as well?
Absolutely. Everything's a competition.
He's probably hitting the apexes and everything, just carrying the speed and momentum.
He's not going over that white line.
But we miss him very much. Davide obviously was a part of the F1 Esports Pro Series to begin with. Lots of passion, lots of amazing phrases. What was your favourite of Davide?
Do you know what? My favourite moment of Davide is finding out, as an Italian, he doesn't like raw tomatoes. That was a real, what? What do you mean, you're Italian and you don't like raw tomatoes? I can't stand them. And that was it. I was just like, wow. So yeah, Davide, just the energy he brings. Shame he can't be here, but he seems like a very happy man in Italy at the moment, and gave us some great insight for the drivers and how to attack Monza.
And people forget as well, if you didn't watch the quali show yesterday, and we mentioned it, Nick, about the fact that he is a very, very quick driver as well, and he's a GP2 champion.
Yeah, he won GP2 back in the day, which is now F2. And I think, I don't know if I'm right, but the only GP2 or F2 champion not to actually get a F1 seat. And it's almost like after he won that championship, he's like he dropped off the face of the earth as a driver, which is a real shame because it'd have been good to see what he could have done in F1. But I love the guy. He's got so much enthusiasm. Yeah, it's great to have him on the show.
So turning our attention back to the Italian Grand Prix now and Monza, we've obviously had a hot lap with David Tanizza. Where do you see, because, it was actually great insight about the fact that the finish line and Davide saying that if you're leading and you're going around Parabolica, it doesn't really matter if the car behind gets a good run on you because it's a really early run to finish the race. So how would you position your car, Nick, to make sure that you win the race? Is it taking the slipstream on the penultimate lap and then taking it into turn one, or do you wait until maybe Ascari? How would you do it?
If it was me, I would go with whatever opportunity I've got. To be fair, if it's the last lap, and especially at the start or on the pit straight, you've got turn one, turn two. I try and get it done there, and then just stay out of the slipstream as much as I could all the way through Ascari and down the back straight towards Parabolica. Because if you can get a big enough gap after turn one so that by the time you get to Parabolica, you're not really defending that hard, then it's game done.
And Monza's probably one of those that's most important for teamwork. We've mentioned it before with, Red Bull and the fact that they know exactly what to do when it comes to energy saving. Austria was a great example of that. They almost utilised it as well in Spa. Monza is particularly important because you don't have an unlimited battery supply, do you? You have to be so clever in the way in which, say, Freddie Rasmussen, for example, would be leading, using his battery power to pull away, but then Marcel using it to slipstream down the back straight, perhaps. So how important will it be to make sure that they are on top form to keep back the likes of Alfa Romeo?
Yeah, I think everybody's got to use their battery in a very strategical way, not to overdo it too early. But you will be able to save quite a bit, I would say, through Sector 2, through the two Lesmos and the second chicane. You probably don't need to use it at all really there. So that's going to help. But it's going to be really interesting to see how these drivers use that battery to their advantage. You're going to see people using it in different ways, and it'll have different outcomes.
Now, I do love waffle, but we have been waffling on a lot. But qualifying is coming soon, I promise. Let's take a look at the driver lineup and who will be taking part in the Italian Grand Prix qualifying. And a lot of usual faces, as we've seen throughout this season. Bresnay and Otmir, there's no Dominic Hoffman coming in, Tom, as you say. No reason to swap out.
Not yet. Not until the last race of the season.
Enzo Benito comes back. You said that it might be an Italian lineup for Monza, and it absolutely is. Is that a fair swap, would you say? Presneda, did he not perform, Nick, to maybe what Ferrari were looking for?
No, I thought he performed, but maybe Tom is right. Benito is more warmed up, isn't he? He's done more races.
A bit more experience as well from last year, yeah.
So they want to go out on a high, especially at their home race.
Yeah, Biancolila keeps his place. Another Italian who gets the race in Monza. No, Patrick Holtzman. When is it going to happen? Is it going to happen?
I feel like maybe Patrick Holtzman just isn't up to speed in this game, because you'd wonder why they haven't swapped yet.
That is a very good point. And also, we're talking about Monza going in, the communication has to be on point for these guys. And 2 weeks they've had. Natalie mentioned it. They have to be perfect now. So I wonder whether teams will have had enough time to really perfect their strategy coming into this race. And if they haven't, they need to have the same sort of communication that Red Bull have during the race.
Absolutely. We're looking at that second page, and the likes of Sally Sautunk has been swapped in.
No Lucas Blakely,
which I think is a fair decision. Give Shanaka Clay an opportunity. He's I think it was Canada, where he had a brilliant performance back in the Pro Exhibition. But yeah, give these drivers a chance. Lucas Blakely clearly hasn't sorted out whatever's going on at the moment, not scoring many points. I think he's on 7, if I'm not mistaken. So really disappointing at the moment. And look, give it a go, right, Nick?
Yeah, why not? Shinaka Clay's got some good pace. He's shown a lot of talent. Why not give him the opportunity?
There is Shinaka Clay.
He's a very straight to the point.
He's watching. He's definitely watching the show. Hello, Shinaka.
Hi.
That's the phone the other way around, isn't it? That's
he would have reacted.
He would have.
It's delayed. It's delayed. It'll happen soon. He'll get a smile. Maybe he won't be there whilst it happens. But that is Shinaka Clay. Clearly, well, maybe even meditating slightly, getting ready for the Italian Grand Prix.
He just doesn't think you're very funny.
There you go.
Hey, yes.
I knew it. Nat, you've obviously been to Monza so many times. We mentioned it already. What's your favourite moment being there at the circuit?
Well, can I ask you a really quick question? Are they able to sub people in and out at free will? I find that really interesting, because one thing you would say freshening up the lineup would be a good thing. Others, it might be a bit disruptive, and you can't really let people get into their groove. But anyway, favourite moment. Okay, I tell you what, I loved the rain in 2018. Would it have been 2018? No, maybe not. Which year was it? 2019, when Stroll... No, 2016. 17! Did I hear 17?
Oh, it's Alex Jakes.
Alex Jakes. Thank you.
He's the fact checker.
That's my short-term memory, terrible. The rain in Monza was insane, and it went on and on and on and on. And Stroll, if you remember rightly, qualified on the second row, but then got promoted up. And that was amazing, apart from the fact that we had to fill to a similar extent as we're having to do today.
Love a bit of filling.
Love a bit of filling. But also, it really showed, it really separated the great from the good, and it was a real test of nerve. And for them to hold that nerve through the whole of wet qualifying and put in a strong performance was testament. And I spoke to Stroll after it, and he said, that was a massive part of his learning curve as a driver that really helped him silence some of his critics, but also go on to drive even better, because he took such confidence from that performance.
Awesome.
May I add to that point? Because he said after this in Turkey, a lovely quote from him, it's not how many times you get knocked down that count, it's how many times you get back up again. And I really like that. It's just in general life, it's just a great sentiment and a philosophy mantra to have. And some of those drivers who have been replaced, like Lucas Blakely, how does he come back? It is going to really show how good he is. And I even argue against the point of changing things up, because Floris Vyers came in at Silverstone, didn't really do anything more that Cedric Tomé did. Shinaka Clay came in, Colligan came in for McLaren, didn't really do anything more. So sometimes it just doesn't make any difference to make that roster change.
Absolutely. Now, I'm being told we have, we don't usually do this, with Quali Show we usually show qualifying, but we've actually got some free practice results as well to give us an idea of what we might see come qualifying, which is coming shortly, I promise. And Freddie Rasmussen right at the top of the timesheets, just ahead of Brendan Lee.
Nice.
Getting himself in the mixer. You like to see that, Nick?
I do like to see that. It's great to see him getting some form now. He's going to be super happy after his P4 at Spa. So a great start for Brendan Lee there.
And David Tanitsa, you can't see it on this screen, down in P20. So not the best practice for the Italian, but that's what it is, practice. You don't decide the grid slots there. There is David Tanitsa. Maybe he was doing some long run pace. You never know. That's what we don't know that in practice, do we? In real life as well.
And
Sorry, sorry, just really baffled me. There's Tonzilla and there's another mascot. We need someone on the phone now to FDA Hublot. What's going on? Is this Enzo Benito's mascot coming in there?
It looks like they're both facing David Tanitsa, though.
Well,
that's the thing.
Does anybody know this? Please let us know.
Hopefully he's on his phone and he can just drop us a message. But
in Italian, don't worry, I've got Translate on my phone.
Brendan Lee was P2 in practice as we move on from the mascot chat. No mascots, unfortunately, for Brendan Lee, who's at Mercedes F1 HQ with the widest screen ever, which you Nick, said you'd like that at home, although I'm pretty sure that would that would mess with your vision if you play for it too long.
No, I definitely would have a go with that. That looks amazing, very immersive.
It looks like the cleaning staff have turned the lights off in the background. Poor Brendan Lee.
He's definitely watching as well. That's a little smirk if I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
We move to P3 in practice now, and there's Danny Beresne also watching. They're all watching us.
Enjoying
Danny
the show.
Beresne, pick up that karaoke mic and give us a song, even though we definitely can't hear him. And I have requested many times that he drops us a tune. Hungarian X Factor he was on, Nick. He was on the live shows of all things.
Are you now WhatsApping more often now? Does he want to hear you more?
There we go.
There he is. So he's got some good momentum going into qualifying as well. But as we've seen, Nick, it's so unbelievably close. Practice can be one thing. We've got 3 sessions ahead of us, and it's a lot of pressure on their shoulders.
Yeah, and you don't know whether in
He obviously doesn't know the camera's still on him.
Got it.
Brendan Lee's watching, I've just been told. So let's have a look. There he is. He's showing us. He's showing us him.
That is so typical of Brendan.
That's great stuff. I mean, that is a brilliant headset as well. Very bright. So, well, Brendan Lee will be looking very happy. Nat.
Just a point about practice. It's interesting because we always say don't read too much into Friday practice, but actually the truth is you do get into a bit of a groove. You learn the track and you just can build on that momentum going into quali and then into the race. So I don't think you should discount it altogether.
No, absolutely not. But I don't know. Do you think it's worth, Nick, in esports for some teams to potentially not show their hand until qualifying, or should they all just go out and try and set the fastest lap?
Yeah, we call that in real life motorsport sandbagging.
Which Mercedes do all the time.
Have they been doing all season? Or?
So, you know, these guys are so well prepared, aren't they? They're so well practiced. They will literally be able to just sit in the sim and do the job straight away in practice. So there are going to be some drivers, I think, sandbagging. The likes of Tunit, so you know, he's not going to be P20 pace, is he? Or you wouldn't expect it.
No.
So I think there's going to be some drivers sandbagging, some just actually getting in the groove, as Nat said, because as soon as Q1 comes around, you want to be ready and have a good banker lap in. So you've got to use the time wisely as well.
But I'd say it would drive poor old Valtteri Bottas bonkers, because he does tend to lead these practice sessions into the weekend, and then he'll even smash in the fastest lap in quali, go P1, and then your brother always comes back even stronger in the race, gets
Yes, FP1 all the way through to Q2, isn't it? Bottas, and then Q3 in the race, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's just a brilliant
Just lulls him into a false sense of security.
It does.
It's just mean.
Now, I don't want to get you excited at home, but I've just been given an iPad. Other tablets are available, which usually means live timing.
Here we go.
Is on its way.
Wow, it's been almost an hour of... I've actually thoroughly enjoyed this. It's been beautiful.
Yeah, to be fair, this is the longest you've been on the quali show.
I know, it's a real game changer. Normally, I'm out the door, but you know what? You're welcome. My favourite quote coming into event 3, I don't know if you guys saw this, was Danny Beresme. We just saw him take a huge yawn. He said this: F1 esports is hard, full stop. Thank you for your attention. That's my favourite message that any of the drivers posted this week.
Yeah, and it's clear to see that maybe he is struggling the most this year, because we've got to know him as a multiple race winner. He was teammates with Brendan Lee. They dominated in the first year. To then have this realisation this year, with everybody in their own home equipment, that it's a lot closer than what we're used to. It must be quite hard for someone that expects to win, Nick, to now be sometimes in the midfield and just about reaching for a podium.
Yeah, I don't think any driver of this caliber or in this series expects to win, because they know that they put a foot wrong and they could be right at the back or out of Q1 or whatever it is. But they will want to make sure they can continue to perform like they know they can. Danny Beresne knows he's a multiple race winner, as you said, and the likes of Brendan Lee, and everybody knows they've got good pace. So they know if they continue just to keep pushing forward and stay consistent, they might not win every race, but they've got a great chance.
Sally Soltunk said, the feeling of winning against the best in the world is so rewarding. He's going to keep pushing to get that feeling again. But once you win it, you get a taste for it. You want to come back for more.
Is there much more you've got on that?
I got a whole roster.
I would agree with that with the quali show. I just want more.
Yeah, of course you do.
Keep talking.
It'd be nice if there was another sofa for you, Nat, to be honest.
No,
You
I'm
feel
fine
so
over
far
here.
away.
No,
oh,
I'm
okay,
fine.
charming. Thanks. What else is on that note, Tom? Hopefully we don't have to look at the notes for too long, especially if it's Tom Deacon's.
Oh, wow. Wow. They're colour-coded as well, guys. Listen.
Are you about to get the red ink out
You're
now?
looking at a part-time professional. Listen, Romanidis said, coming into this, the sprint, and every race driver is talking about this, every pro is talking about the turnaround. They'll get longer for the next time we'll be back for Event 4 in December. But he said he is ready for these legendary tracks. So Romanidis getting a point at Spa. I'm curious to see if he's come back in rather than Sally Soltank, whether he has been preparing for Monza. So I've got my eye on him for this race. Yeah,
and Williams have been an interesting debate anyway. We haven't really spoken too much about them, but they've got an amazing hub back at their factory. It's littered with simulators. And yet they haven't really been able to turn around the performances. And, Tom, we've been part of it since day dot, as we like to always say. Yeah. What do you think maybe is missing as a part in the sort of process that's not allowed Williams to be right at the top? Or do you not see anything?
Do I not see anything?
I teed up the fact you could say, I don't know. That was basically, if you want it, it's up there.
Oh, no, I'm happy to take it.
OK.
Because we're still filling. No,
we must be running out of filling.
I think Alvaro Carreton, yesterday on the live show in the evening, Nick mentioned it, that Alvaro Carreton finished in pole and got 4th in Austria, and then I think he got another 4th place finish, and he was so frustrated. We saw him going out at Q2 I think yesterday at some point, and I think they're leaning on him. They had Isaac Price last year, who's now not part of the team. They were expecting Romanidis, he's the youngest in the grid, real talent to come through. They just need time to bed in, and I think Sally Soltank as well to give that experience. For some reason, it hasn't quite gelled yet to represent the results that they wanted. But at the same time, I'm excited to see them improve. I think next year will be the year when they're really pushing.
Guests upon guests upon guests in this show now. As we've had Davide Valsecchi, we now have Mr. Alex Jakes up in the commentary box right now. Alex, we've actually forced you to do some work. We're giving you a clap as well. You're on your own, mate. Are you feeling lonely?
It's about time. This is all mine. I've been working on this for years, and now, all mine.
I can see the stance. You're absolutely loving it up there. Alex, of course, we're waiting for Monza and the Italian Grand Prix qualifying to get underway. It's a short but fast, aggressive track. What are you expecting after what we saw yesterday? Any momentum drivers that we can see?
Momentum drivers. Well, I'll start first of all with the circuit. I can't believe you haven't gone, Matt, because it is just...
I'm waiting for an invite.
It is my favourite race of the year. It really is. It's atmospheric. You've got the old grandstands. You've got the old banking. You've got so many things that mark this out as the Temple of Speed, as a place where every driver wants to perform. It was a pretty strange one, not having a crowd there this year. And then what did we get instead in the real thing? We had a shock result with Pierre Gasly. Will we get any shock results today? Well, we're certainly having to wait for qualifying. But I think the big question now going into this session is, can Jarno Opmeer stop the blip? It's only a blip. It's a little bit of a wobble. Will it become a full-blown crisis? Well, if he has another exit in Q1, then I think he's going to be slightly worried that it's going to be a bit of a rearguard action, a bit of a Jensen Button, if you like, in 2009 to try and hang on to the lead he's got. And maybe that could change the dynamic. But he's been so good this year, I expect him to bounce back.
And if we were going to choose a track that could potentially be one of those where you drop out in Q1, I reckon Monza is definitely up there because of the fact it will be really close in qualifying, and there isn't that many places to make up time if you make a mistake.
Yeah, especially into that first chicane, you can ruin things. We saw yesterday at Spa, you've only got to have one moment, no improvement, and then you're going to find yourself heading down the order. So it's one lockup. I mean, you've already talked about the high standard that they set. We've already mentioned that they're aliens. We have to underline again, this is hours upon hours. It's almost unreasonable how much time they have to spend on this game to set those high standards. So we rock up to the quality show and we go, I tell you what, isn't it amazing that they're just a couple of thousandths away from each other? But that is hours upon hours of dedication. And then in the end, you can make just one tiny error. You can have a minor moment that normally we wouldn't even notice, and that can be the difference between going out in the first part of qualifying, and it can essentially ruin your race there and then.
before we let you go and have a snooze before we see you later on in the quali show,
Yes.
give us one crazy prediction as we dive into qualifying, which is happening very soon.
I don't believe you for a second. But
Hey, no,
also,
actually, Alex, you can take over the filling, mate. We'll just go and get a
you go and
coffee.
get yourself a coffee, you put your feet up, and do this for hours. Now the desk is all mine. It's the happiest I've ever been in my life. I think Simon Weigang is in great form right now. He seems to have got over whatever issues he had with the wheel and not feeling comfortable. And now he seems very, very happy. And a confident driver is always a driver to watch. So look out for him.
Amazing stuff. Thanks, Alex. Hopefully you're not cemented to the middle of that commentary box and you'll let me come up there later this evening.
See you later, mate.
That was a lovely ta-ta.
Hello. Bye-bye.
Do you know what? What's been beautiful to watch is the relationship blossoming between you and Alex Jakes, Matt.
Oh, it's true love.
Of course it is, and quite right. He mentioned about Simon Weigang. I'd like to throw out there my prediction for this. Fab Donoso, he's had some issues. He's had problems. Apparently they're fixed now. And he is ready to go, so I'm expecting him to be, well, I'd like him to be in the points, just for him, because when things are going wrong for you, Nick, you might be able to tell us more about this, to finally get...
Oh, the poor guy.
From a driver
Yeah, I
perspective,
get what you're saying.
when things aren't going right for you and you know, right, it's that, once you've got no more excuses and you can't say that's the reason, hopefully it turns around for him. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, you can go on a downward spiral.
Hold on. Hold the fort. We've got qualifying.
Wow, big deal.
This is incredible.
I'm going to put my prediction in,
Go on.
because you didn't ask me, which is
Hey,
quite upsetting.
we didn't have enough time. We didn't film for long
Not
enough.
enough time. Fair enough. But I'm going to go Brendan Lee.
Hello.
I would like Brendan Lee to take this one.
Nat as well?
I was going to say,
Oh,
yes.
sorry, Nat.
No,
no.
I'm delighted.
No, he's taken it. You can't have it.
Sorry. Joy. No, listen, you just validate my response, so thank you.
Love that.
If
Love
he
that.
says it, it's got to be true.
It was true. It was true last time, wasn't it? You were right. Or was it Alex?
It was Alex.
No, it was Alex. It was Freddie. You went for the optimist.
I went for Tornitsa a couple of weeks ago and I got it right.
Was it yesterday you were wrong?
Yesterday
A few weeks ago you were right.
ago, was
And I haven't been right
Never
ever.
question
No, you're never right.
Nick Hamilton because he's got a memory, an absolute golden memory.
Literally everything, just straight in, never
That's why
comes
he's
out.
here.
Yeah, great.
Love it. So we're underway for qualifying, and David Tonitsa is on intermediate tyres. It's not raining. If you're new to the quali show, it's just bedding in the track. They're going around just making sure everything works. And, well, you can see the lockups, no surprise, they're on grooved tyres. But they'll just go around, make sure all the equipment's working. They don't want to burn a set of tyres now, because as the time goes on, the track evolves, gets quicker. And so that's why we've technically probably got another 5 minutes of filling here, fellas, because not a lot of track action is going on. But we can still talk about Tonitsa. He'll definitely want a result here at the Italian Grand Prix. Even though it's virtual, it still feels good to win Monza, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you're a driver for the FDA Hubot Ferrari team and you're at Monza, it doesn't matter whether it's real life or F1 Esports, you're going to want to win it. Especially Tornitsa, trying to defend his title, this is one he'll definitely want to win.
Yeah, I think the title defence is all but over, unfortunately, for Tonitsa this season, which is very surprising. He could have easily been in the mix had it not been for the Bahrain crash, but then again, his qualifying didn't really match up with where he should have been on pace, and that's the reason why he got caught up in that incident. So it hasn't been that bulletproof start to the season that we saw from Tonitsa last season, because he ran away with it, didn't he, Tom? He absolutely flew through.
Yeah, he really did. And I'm just looking at the Drivers' Championship here and the standings at the moment, and Tonitsa down in 6th with 40 points, equalled by Danny Moreno in his debut season, both on 40 points, and a possible 125 points remaining. No, 100. Apologies, 100 points. 100 points remaining, and they're still to play for. And I think for Tonitsa, yes, maybe this season is not his for the Drivers' Championship, but he will do whatever he can to build up that confidence, getting ready for 2021. So
Tonitsa actually set the lap time on the intermediate, so 1 minute 26.9, which is not bad at all. Probably quicker than me on dry tyres, to be honest. Freddie Rasmussen, there he is, on an outlap as well, and he isn't on intermediates, he's on soft tyres, so we'll see a few banker laps coming in, and this is exactly what it is, isn't it, Nick? Q1, there's a lot of time still left in the session. Let's get a lap time on the board and just build the confidence from there.
Yeah, but you just can't get complacent, can you, in these sessions, because you make one mistake and all of a sudden you haven't got enough time to do your second run. We've seen it a couple of times from Brendan Lee in Spa and also in Canada, which put himself on the back foot. So it's really not as easy as you think. Preparing the car, making sure the tyres are ready. By the time you hit the brakes into turn one, you want to make sure you've got all the grip available to make sure your banker lap gets done.
Yeah, you don't want to add any extra pressure to yourself. I don't know what's
I'm just being mimed by Nat. You okay?
Yeah, yes, that's it.
Check your phone.
Big views.
Big news.
News.
Yeah,
Quick.
doesn't your iPad do that? Other tablet?
Not my
devices,
iPad.
do that. No, you mentioned there, Nick, about that pressure. You want to get that lap time in. Curious to know, 1 minute 18.7 is what we saw lap time from Tanitsa when we had that running alongside him and seeing the track. Would you expect 1:16, 1:17? We saw that in practice, 1 minute 17 from Rasmussen. Are we going to predict what time we could be breaking into here?
Yeah, I'm going to go for I'm going for a 17.3.
That measured like that. 17.1.
Okay. Hey, 17.2.
Nat, what's yours?
17, 1 and a bit.
1 and a bit.
1 and a bit.
17,
Wow.
1 and a bit.
You know.
There's been some news coming out of Mr. Alex Jake securing a particular job role, which is very exciting. And congratulations, mate. I'm sure everyone will be seeing it on social media. Excited. A round of applause. Securing lead commentator for a particular channel. I won't mention any of that because I don't want to get in trouble, but congratulations, Alex. I'm very
well
proud
deserved.
of you.
Well
I'd actually
deserved.
drafted the tweet and I need to put it out right now, to be honest, because I promised him as his marketing manager that I would do that. So Q1 still, we're getting a few lap times now. A 17.7 from Rasmussen, 17.8 from Biancalila, and an 18.0 from Joni Tormela. A few laps on the board. Tanitsa's lap time was on intermediates. Everybody else in the pits. So Freddie Rasmussen.
He is ready. He is ready.
He is ready. He's been the man on form, hasn't he, Nick? But also going quite early.
Yeah, I mean, why not? He knows he's got the pace. He's had the pace, hasn't he, all the way through these qualifying sessions. And why not start where you mean to go on? So I don't think he needs to wait. And he's shown us that he doesn't. And I think that's the perfect start for him with 10 minutes left to Q1.
And he'd be going for the hat-trick. Surely people are watching this knowing that Freddie Rasmussen had pole in Silverstone, pole in Spa. Can he make it 3 out of 3? The hat-trick, the perfect event 3. And you wouldn't be surprised if he got it at all.
Absolutely not. I've just sent the tweet, Alex, so the invoice is in the post. He just made a Twitter account, actually. I've been telling him to make a Twitter account for ages. No, couldn't possibly. I'll never tweet. I don't care. He's got a Twitter account now. Very exciting. But Q1 still underway, but not a huge amount going on.
Apart from Danny Haddad going P1.
Yeah,
which
actually,
is a great lap
17.696. Yeah, that's definitely a good banker. We'll see the times tumbling a little bit more towards the end of this session, but Daniele Haddad hasn't really been in the mix at the front yet.
And
But
what's nice is Joni Tormela in fourth at the moment, but the
fourth of 5 lap times.
Yes, I know, and I'm only pointing it out at 1 minute 18, but just for Joni Tormela, needs that little bit of confidence just to break into Q2.
I don't think that's a confidence lap though, Nick, is it? An 18.0, that's not going to see you comfortably through to Q2, do you think?
No, I definitely think he's going to have to go again. We've seen...
Sorry, Tom, I didn't mean to butt in, but also no confidence from that.
Wow. Okay, but I want him to do well because when you see a driver not doing well in qualifying, something's gone awry. It's not, his confidence is down, whatever, feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
We don't know, but just banking that time just allows, so early in Q1, just allows him to get back out there and set another lap time.
Absolutely. 9 minutes remaining. And still a lot of drivers without a lap time. But fortunately for them, if they make a mistake, it's not like we saw yesterday for the Belgian Grand Prix, Nick, where it's a much longer lap time. You make a mistake, there aren't many bites at the cherry. I said that many times yesterday, but I'm going to say it once today, which is then. You can get round quickly. That was my point, basically. You can get round quickly around Monza. If you make a mistake, it doesn't matter if there's 2 minutes left. You still have time to get in, get round, and have one more lap.
Yeah, for sure, and it helps, but there's really fine margins here. You can see James Baldwin going through the Ascari chicane, one slight mistake and, you could be track extending or get a bad exit, and exits are so crucial here. They've got long straights, so you want to maximise them But yeah, you're so right. There's still a lot of room for errors, but if they do make errors, the journey back to the pit lane doesn't take that long.
Absolutely. So James Baldwin, 18.010, so just slots in ahead of Joni Tourmaline. You see the drivers weaving down the straights before their lap time. They have all this real-time data in their, I guess, display. Let's call it that. It's probably easier. The HUD on their screen, so they'll see live data of exactly what the temperatures are of their tyres and their brakes, which is pretty cool from Codemasters implementing all of that data, because that's what they're going to be analysing constantly on the fly, just like Formula One drivers do. They've got to get it in that optimum window before they then get onto their flying lap. And you know, sometimes even if they work too hard over a flying lap towards the end, they might start to overheat, and they need to manage the slide and how hard they attack the corners. Here's Alvaro Carreton. He is going to be getting out of that flying lap as he gets out of the way of a car going through Ascari. So I wonder if he will come into the pits or go for another flying lap. It is a short lap, so you'd expect maybe you could go for another lap. It looks like he's warming up the tyres again to go for another stab.
Yeah, he looks like he's winding himself up as we are on board with Bono Huis, and he's really working those fronts, isn't he? Working them a lot, but he's got to stay out of the way. Stay out of the way. Jarno Opmeer is charging through on a lap currently. Where's this going to put him? I think it's so important for Jarno Opmeer to get a good qualifying today because he's really got to, as Alex said, try and minimise this blip that is happening at the moment. And he goes P1, doing a great job with that lap.
Yeah, great lap from Opmeer, 17.671. And that puts him to the top of the timesheets for now and should safely see him through to Q2, unless we see a dramatic evolution of the track and the grip spiking upwards. Here's Bono Huis, who had a pretty decent, quiet Belgian Grand Prix, slotting in P7, only 4 seconds off the win. So it's been a pretty impressive and decent performance from Bono Huis this week.
Yeah, and the former McLaren driver, we know he's got potential in terms of other sim racing that he competes in, and Mercedes like something about him. They think he'd be a brilliant complementary driver or rear gunner to Brendan Lee. At the end of the season, we'll know whether it was the right fit, but the more he performs and gets up into those points is going to do him well.
Absolutely. Freddie Rasmussen to the top of the timesheets with a 17.5, but Brendan Lee getting stuck in. 17.547 from Brendan, the Mercedes driver, and that is a big statement of intent, Nick, that he fancies pole position.
Yeah, so good to see. It's great to see his name up there in P1 after all the stick that he's been getting for the last couple of months. It's great to see him there and showing the talent and pace we know he has.
Bono's had a rather mediocre lap, it has to be said, down in P15. Still drivers to set a lap time. Donoso, Weigand, Carreton and Tomé comes into the pits, so he'll get one more attempt, it looks like, to try and get out of Q1. Haas, of course, Tom, you're eagerly looking at Cedric Tomé, praying.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, you read into Twitter, that's the beauty of social media.
Instant reactions,
Instant reaction, and Cedric Tomé, for whatever reason, something's not feeling comfortable with his drive at the moment, and I hope that improves for him and his confidence. But yeah, Simon Weigand and Cedric Tomé still in the pit, waiting as long as possible. But with Daniele Haddad in second place at the moment, they'll be trying to hopefully accrue more points and not finish bottom this year.
Now, I'm very excited for this part.
Yeah?
I asked for it to be made.
What, I'm leaving?
No.
Oh, right, okay.
Have a look at the screen right now, Tom.
What?
It's time for spicy full screen time.
Oh, beautiful!
Oh my goodness me, the power of this quali show is unbelievable. Whoever made that, thank you so much. We're into full screen time. 4 minutes remaining in Q1 and Brendan Lee still at the top of the timesheets. A lot of pressure right now on James Baldwin. We've already mentioned he's had to juggle a lot, and he knows that if he's the world's fastest gamer. He's won a competition being versatile and adaptive on many racing games. He knows just how much work he has to put in to beat some of these drivers.
Yeah, he does indeed, and he knows how difficult it is. He's actually up on his lap currently, going through the first Lesmo, getting a good exit. Second Lesmo coming up next. Can he get the front end in nicely? Yes, he does do that well.
Didn't feel like there was a huge amount of momentum through there, though,
no,
did you say?
Yeah, it was almost like he's backed out slightly.
Let's have a look.
Let's wait and see as we finish. Yeah, so he's a second down, isn't
He has
he?
got out of it, yeah.
I
Interesting.
So I reckon he'll go again. He'll go again.
He'll have to.
He hasn't got time to come in, I don't think, and change. So he'll be setting himself up again. You want to make sure he gets a good exit out of Parabolica and onto the pitch straight. And it's now or never for him, really.
Oh, he's coming into the pits, so it's going to be quite tight. It might just be enough time to get in, because you get wheeled back into the garage, then you have to go through the menus to choose another set of tyres. It's going to be close for sure, especially if he picks up some traffic, just trying to wind up for a lap, because this is crucial. This is where the Esports team managers and the guys communicating to the drivers, just like in real life Formula One, to make sure that they know exactly who's on a flying lap, who isn't, because the stewards will be straight on you with a penalty if you don't follow those rules, Tom.
Yeah, I find this so fascinating. I think this is what I love, and I love of F1, just watching and just trying to, like I say earlier, forecast what could possibly happen. And then
big pressure on this man.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, in 17th at the moment with a 1:25, obviously just waiting for that optimum time with the tyres and the track and knowing what he can get out of this. I mean, this is a guy that not only is finally getting a message off Matt Gallagher post-race, but he now knows he's got the confidence of Matt Gallagher being a cheerleader.
The thing is, if he doesn't get through Q1, this is his first session after I messaged him. And he will never want me to message him again in this case. But I don't think Danny would want to be in this position. This is like the Brendan Lee situation that we've mentioned so many times this season, Nick, where there's so much pressure now. And Monza's so easy to extend just a little bit too much, attack maybe Lesmo 1 a little bit too hard, go onto the exit curb, and then the lap's invalidated.
Yeah, you're so right. And it's like Davide Valsecchi said, it's such a hard circuit to drive. It's so fast, and there's so many fine margins. So through the lap, you make a slight mistake, and that's an invalidated lap, or you just cost yourself time and time again.
My heart is beating. Simon Weigang out of the pit on the hot lap. Can he deliver?
Needs the lap time.
I mean, look, we've seen it from Brendan Lee. Nick mentioned it the other day, like ease off, relax. It's Brendan Lee. We know what he's got, and he set that time to go into Q2. But Simon Weigang, it's a different ballgame. It's not Brendan Lee. This is Simon Weigang. Can he manage it?
I'm going to request we can ride on board with Beresnay if possible from production, but if not, don't worry. We're having a look at Danny Beresnay right now. He is up. There we go. Beautiful. As if by magic. Lovely. So we're riding on board with him now, and he really needs to set a lap time here. Keep it within the white lines. That's crucial. Opening DRS for the second time on his lap. Preparing for Ascari, this is an easy part to invalidate, and he's going to just drift the car to the right to get the widest entry, and it's great amount of momentum through there within the white lines. That is perfect, Nick.
Yeah, it looks really, really good, doesn't it? The part with Parabolica, it could easily go wrong. He's on a really good lap, but if he doesn't get it right, it could be very costly. Looks very, very good for him.
It's so
a
close.
Little bit wide. I hope that doesn't give him track limits. But a really good lap. Where does it put Danny Beresnay?
No, it was invalidated. So that final, this is it. He just got over the line in time. He may not have enough energy, in fact. He's got a driver in front of him as well. This is huge pressure on Danny Beresnay's shoulders now.
And maybe that was on the exit of Parabolica, as we saw.
Absolutely. Here's Bono Huis, also very much at threat, down in 18th with an 18.1. Fabrizio Donoso has finished his session, but only in P14.
I know, I'm just like, well, because I said, Fab, Donoso.
No, but that's not very good. I think Donoso could very much be in trouble here, Tom, so don't celebrate just yet. David Tanitza goes to the top of the timesheets with a 17.486 ahead of Marcel Kiefer, also in the .4s. Bono Huis is going to have to make up some time. That looked like he left a bit of time there on the table there, Nick.
Yeah, it looked like he didn't really attack it enough.
It's conservative, isn't it? He's trying to get a lap in.
But hopefully he gets a good exit out of Parabolica. He's quite relaxed considering the situation he's in. Not as wide as we saw Danny Beresnay. Where does this put him as he crossed the line? And now...
P11.
11th, P11. He'll be happy with that.
So that drops Weigang out in Q1, down to 16th. The Haas driver's not going to make it. Danny Moreno is in 10th at the moment doing a lap time. So right now we've got Donoso out, Weigang, James Baldwin, Shanaka Clay and Danny Beresnay. P20, last on the grid for the Alfa Romeo driver. That is huge. Jarno Wotmer, his teammate, P1.
Yeah, they are everyone else is the sandwich filling at the moment. So
don't use the word filling ever again.
No?
Please.
Okay.
I've heard that far too much today.
Okay, fair enough. Just understood. Took me a second there. Just understood.
And penny drop.
And it was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, he will be very annoyed with that. And it just exceeding the track limits, that's what he's talking to, I imagine, team radio at the moment. Just like, I can't believe that. But it just seemed like he just went a little bit too wide as he was coming into past Parabolica, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, he did. Yeah, it was Parabolica definitely on that first lap that we saw. It was minuscule as well, millimetres wide, but that's the rules. You know, you can't have one case here, one case there. It's
and Red Bull will be licking their lips now, knowing going into Monza that it's all about that team.
This is sorry, Tom. This is the replay. This is where Beresnay. Look how close that is.
Yeah,
and that's all it takes.
Off. Yeah, 4 wheels off, which is exactly like real life. You know, we could see that at Monza this year in real life F1. Drivers are really on the limit there, and they do get their lap time taken away. So I'm happy to see that in terms of a realistic situation, but it's obviously not nice to see for Danny Britt.
So from what I can see, that lap time that he did do where he ran slightly wide was a 17.770, which would have put him 14th, and he would have made it through to Q2. But alas, he is out, and there's
Your
Simon Weigang.
Latest follower, I believe, on Twitter, actually, Matt.
Yeah, Simon, Mr. Verified himself from the Haas team. Unfortunately not making it through to Q2 either. So that momentum that he had from the last couple of races we saw at Silverstone and Spa, as I mentioned, Monza easily capturing some of these drivers that we'd expect to get into Q2 and Q3.
Yeah, this just shows, as I always say, that the amount of pressure these drivers are under, but also how close the championship is, because you can go from hero to zero pretty quickly in this championship, and it's only you know, a couple of tenths, half a tenth here and there, and any mistakes, and you're out of Q1.
Yeah, it's going to be really disappointing for Shanaka Clay that we can see there as well, given the opportunity to take the seat of Lucas Blakely, who hadn't really been performing. But Shanaka, unfortunately, not getting out of Q1 either, which means he's going to have to go for an aggressive strategy in order to get any points this evening.
However, Daniele Haddad delivering for Racing Point. And it's interesting that one driver comes in, goes out, but as long as someone in your team is doing the business, then you've got to be happy.
Here's Marcel Kiefer. We can hear some team radio from him right now. Not very talkative at the moment is Marcel Kiefer, so we'll wait for that team radio to come through, but I'm sure he'll be very happy with his performance so far. It's just so consistent, isn't it, from the Red Bull drivers? They're just constantly at the top, get through Q1 very easily. We haven't seen many occasions this season, Nick, where they've been on the cusp and potentially getting knocked out. Yeah,
and this is, I think we had a question yesterday of you know, why of the likes of Red Bull and Alfa Romeo so strong in the championship in comparison to other drivers or other teams. And it's because they're not putting a foot wrong, are they? Especially in comparison to Alfa Romeo. You got, you know, Danny Beresnay in last position, which really doesn't help the team. But when you see Freddie Rasmussen doing a good job, we've seen him in P1 many times. You've always got Marcel Kiefer there, P3, P2, right behind him, which is what they need, and that just shows the calibre of drivers that they are.
Are we starting to see potential?
Yes, we are. Matt, we're seeing it. This is Team Championship right here, and that's why I said Red Bull are licking their lips.
Wow, you actually did take the question out of my mouth.
Yeah.
You didn't even know what I was going to say.
I just knew, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a team, like we said, going into this, Alfa Romeo haven't qualified well yesterday in the last two races, Spa and Silverstone, and yet not delivering. Red Bull, it's never a doubt, and that's what is going to make sure they cross the line. There are 4 more races to go, but yet you would say at the moment, unless Alfa Romeo can sort out their qualifying, it's going to be a Red Bull Team Championship.
I think the question was, will you give Matt £1 million?
Yes,
that was
definitely.
The question.
If I
can't ask him that.
If I had £1 million, it does come with certain, things. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the eliminated drivers from Q1. Thanks so much for that, Tom. And here we have it. Donoso Delgado out in Q1 after wanting to come back strong. He wasn't able to manage that and is out in the first part of qualifying. Simon Weigang will be very disappointed with that after his recent run of form. James Baldwin, he said yesterday that it was the worst day of his sim racing career. Well, today hasn't started well either. He'll be looking to bounce back this evening for the race show. Shanaka Clay probably disappointed, and Danny Beresnay, a big scalp, out in Q1 and last on the grid. It will be a miracle, Nick, if he scores any points this evening.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely made his evening difficult, hasn't he? But yeah, we can't put it past him. You know, he's got to be positive. He's got to be strong. He's got to try and put qualifying behind him if he wants to keep himself positive for this evening. But let's see what he can do.
Yeah, so we saw the likes of maybe Jarno Opmeer at Silverstone. He qualified 16th, ended up P9, I believe it was, which was a pretty awesome drive. From 20th on the grid around Monza, which we suspect is going to be quite a difficult DRS train. It's going to have to be quite an aggressive strategy, isn't it, Tom?
Yes, and I mean, listen, some people like a mountain to climb, don't they? Some drivers do, and that's when they pull it out of the bag. But just after we saw that tweet from F1 saying how well Dani Berezny had driven in Silverstone and Spa, I feel for him in many respects because, you know, we're talking about fine margins, but he did exceed those limits. And yeah, will he be able to do that? It would be incredible if he managed to get a point out from this.
Well, Tom, it's been brilliant to have you on the show. It's been a lot of time.
Too much time.
Hey, we enjoyed it. Big filling and loved having you on.
Oh, OK.
Who's going to get pole before you go?
Pole, I'm seeing a hat-trick of Freddie Rasmussen.
Well, that's an easy, safe prediction.
OK, you want another one? Brendan Lee's already gone. Do you know what? I reckon, out of the blue, Enzo, but no, of course, no, it's going to be Freddie Rasmussen. OK,
cool. Well, thank you so much, Tom. I'll let you go. You may just leave now, to be honest, because I've got to introduce our next guest for Q2, which is Natalie Pinkham, who's been eagerly waiting to basically be part of the quali show.
Well, here's the thing. I've been told I'm just going to sit here. You're just going to sit here.
You don't want to go?
I do want to go. I'm just going to sit here. I won't say a word, honestly.
That's amazing. Nat, we're looking towards Q2. Quite a big shock for Dani Berezny not getting out of Q1.
No, and the body language there, but he couldn't quite hook it up. But obviously the track limits, as you say, Nick, it is as close to reality as it can be. And it just goes to show, you know, you put in what you think is a great lap and then you're disqualified essentially from quali as a result. Yeah, massively disappointing from him. And he's got his work cut out for the race. I was about to say the race tomorrow because I'm so used to qualifying the day before.
No, we've got it later this evening, 7:30 p.m. GMT. The race show will be getting underway. And, well, Tom's just sat on the sofa enjoying the qualifying, which is brilliant. And Nat's still really far away, which is really upsetting. But it's absolutely fine. Q2 is underway right now. 8 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. And we have some lap times on the board already. Rasmussen, once again, at the top of the timesheet, 17.6. Then it's Opmeer, Tourmalet, Lee and Longuet, your top 5. So we've got a few drivers still not having set a lap time, one of them being David Tanitsa. But we're seeing a lot earlier lap times as we usually see, Nick. Q2, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. We've got some bankers in already.
Yeah, we're starting to see these drivers. They're not actually waiting that much, are they, anymore? Because they know they make a mistake and it puts them on the back foot. But some drivers are going to be super confident and try and get as much track evolution as possible before they even do their first run. But here we go, riding on board, or not necessarily on board, but watching Daniel Haddad. But he actually did a really good job in Q1. I was very, very impressed by him. He's missed Q1 a couple of times, Q2 a couple of times, and not been able to get out of Q1. So it's been great to see him in the mix, and let's hope he can continue that through to Q2.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, you know, we've mentioned the different characteristics with some of the tracks and how it favours drivers. It looks like Daniele Haddad is one of those drivers that's really confident on the brakes, because that's where, you know, the time is gained around Monza. It's not necessarily in terms of driver skill through certain corners or having particular belief. It's just being hard on the brakes, turn 1 especially. And Daniele Haddad is currently on that lap time, just going through Lesmo 2. And it's one of those tracks, it's just a really odd one in terms of mentally, it's just all about just sending it through these corners. It's just send after send after send.
Yeah, just confidence, isn't it? Confidence in your car, confidence in your ability, especially in the direction change of the car, the stability of the car, and also the braking performance as well of the car. So there's so many aspects to think about as a driver, and let's hope that Dani Haddad does not track extend, just manage to keep it within track limits. Let's see where he goes.
P2, lovely lap.
And it's really, really strong from Dani Haddad, which is really good to see.
Yeah, great from Daniele Haddad there, Nat. Some more pressure on the likes of Tanitsa as we're riding on board with Bono Huis.
the pressure's going to keep ramping up. I've got a question for you. Do you know the fastest lap in F1 history?
I'm hoping that's rhetorical and you're about to tell us.
Do you, Nick?
No.
I am about to tell you.
Hello.
Well, you can try and work it out.
Oh, it was,
so the
was it last year?
This
Monza,
year?
yeah. Or this year, sorry, Monza.
You take the fastest driver, Lewis, the fastest track, Monza, the fastest cars, 2020. It was here at Monza, 1 minute 18.8.
Well, they've gone even quicker.
Well, I know, but that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
You know, it's seriously impressive. Average speed of 264 kilometres per hour.
Love that.
Wow. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
That is very impressive. That's definitely more impressive than Tom's stats. So thanks, Nat, for joining us on Quali.
That's all I'm going to say. That's it from me.
Amazing stuff. We're 5 minutes and 43 away from seeing the conclusion of Q2, and here's Michael Romanidis, who is yet to set a lap time. Nicholas Longe is on a good lap, and he has just slotted himself into P6. So I think, again, we've seen already, that's very wide from Romanidis. That would be lucky if he does not get invalidated. He's done, says Natalie Pinkham. But he does actually get his lap time on the board, despite being given the He's Done award. But P11 will not make it to Q3. And I can still hear Tom Deacon laughing in the background.
He just wants to be involved, doesn't he?
Here's Bono Huis. P7 at the moment, in a decent position at the moment, Nick. But as I was trying to make the point that some of these drivers went out on worn tyres, and we're now seeing the raw pace. David Tanitsa 17.3.
Yes, 17.3. That's what I said pole was going to be. So
could we see
I'm pretty close, but I think maybe another couple of tenths. But it does look like Tanitsa has really raised the bar, hasn't he? In comparison to practice, you know, and it sort of shows, was he sandbagging in P20 in practice, now going P1 in Q2?
We did mention it, he might have been on a completely different run plan, maybe trying a few things for the race later this evening. They can do whatever they want in those sessions. So, David Tanitsa, it's great to see him back at the top. Natalie, the reigning champion from last year. We want to see him in the mix.
Of course we do, and we know that talent hasn't gone anywhere. You know, he just... Well, we've had various theories as to why he's had a bit of a mixed season so far. But yeah, great to see him back up there. But let's see if he can do it when it counts.
Crucially, he needs to be out of the middle pack, especially Monza, Nick. When you're going down towards turn one, you don't want to be starting 11th, 12th, 13th, right in the mix of all the action. There's going to be a few end plates lost into turn one.
Yeah, you've got to be really careful, haven't you? Trying to stay out of trouble. It basically funnels, doesn't it, into it's like just funnels into one. So there's going to be a few three abreast cars or action, but yeah, who can stay out of trouble and come out unscathed on the first lap is going to be very crucial.
Because a lot of the drivers will be thinking, well, maybe the ones starting towards the front, that their managers will be saying, look, just take turn one easy, it's okay, you can settle yourself into the race. The guys behind, this is probably their one opportunity to make some positions up. We've seen how difficult it can be when you're stuck in that DRS train. Lap one, turn one, you've got to send it.
Yeah, you've got to be confident, haven't you? And my dad always said, when you've earned your spot, you've got to keep your spot. And the guys behind you've got to work to get past you. So if you were starting on pole position, you don't want to be given that away easily.
The trouble is, though, that there's always the risk of trying too hard. I mean, you'd always want to try too hard than not hard enough. But if you go at 101% as opposed to 99, you do run the risk of getting caught up in the carnage.
And over driving potentially as well.
Yeah.
You push the car too hard, go a little bit too late on the brakes into turn one, when you're not only doing your own braking, you're also looking around to see where everyone else is braking into lap one, turn one, and you can't predict where some things will occur. So there is that risk that you have to take, but let's not get silly and lose a front wheel.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to be thinking about generally is generally just to brake with the cars ahead of you. You know, if you've got the opportunity to maybe send one down the outside and get yourself on the inside for turn two, then by all means. But
what's safer, do you think? The inside or the outside going into turn one? Where would you rather be?
You really can't predict. You have to literally
just get there and pray.
It's a seat of your pants feeling, because you can't judge it. There might be someone that just all of a sudden jinks out under braking, and you've got to take avoidant action or go in a different direction. You can never plan.
We have a yellow flag, sorry, in sector 1, 2 and 3. So there's been a few moments out there as we get to the end of Q2 right now. Marcel Kiefer starting another lap, so he doesn't feel comfortable on a 17.4 up in P2. David Tanitsa stays in the pits, which I think is fair enough.
Yep.
And that also means, like we saw with Freddie Rasmussen when he set a really quick time yesterday in the quali show, David Tanitsa will have 2 sets of fresh tyres going into Q3, which is crucial, Nat. You get two stabs at the cherry, not bites. Stabs.
Yeah,
Stabs.
Well, it's like mixed metaphor. But I don't understand why Kiefer would go out again. Why wouldn't that
Well,
be
it's interesting. I've just seen this because
He's slowed down as well.
From P2 to P7, they're all on an outlap, so they all want to go again. Which
So it looks like he's already messed up his lap as well. So I wonder if he'll continue to go on once more, because he will get round in time. So clearly, turn 1 did not work out for Marcel, but with track evolution, it gets quicker out there, and we've seen how close qualifying can be. So Red Bull probably just sending him out there for safety more than anything, because we've seen in real life Formula 1 so many times now where, you know, the likes, maybe Ferrari, for example, come to mind sometimes, where they've thought, oh, we're safe, absolutely fine. And then suddenly loads of drivers find time, perhaps even go on newer softer set of tyres, and then they're caught out and have blushes.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have thought P2 was enough, but no, you're absolutely right. A quick question about the start of the race, Nick. How much of it do you focus on yourself, and how much of it are you thinking about those around you?
Generally, for me, in real life, fully on myself. You want to try and maximise your start and give yourself the best opportunity. And once you get off the line, that's when you start thinking, right, where do I position my car? And you want to go where everyone else pretty much doesn't, if that gives you an opportunity to overtake. But sometimes it is good to follow the leader. So, you know, use the guy in front of you to create a gap, create a hole, and benefit. Especially in touring cars, with me, you can gain quite a few places by following the car ahead. So yeah, you have to be very, very.
Unless, of course, there isn't a car ahead.
Let's quickly take a look. Sorry, Q2 action just finishing now. So we've got the likes of Biancalila, who unfortunately is not going to make it through to Q3. He is down to 13th. We've got Otmir, the fastest of anybody. Tanitsa, Rasmussen and Kiefer all finishing their lap times. Romanidis is not going to progress to Q3. Brendan Lee gets himself up to P2. He is very much in the mix. Nat giving it a full-on fist bump as well.
Come on.
And who else? We've got Haddadston on the lap time. Bonahui's coming towards the line. Where will he end up? He goes up to P7 in that Mercedes. A great result for Brendan Lee's teammate, so he'll be happy with that if he can get through. Haddad, he only makes P13, which is going to be disappointing for him. He was looking very strong in Q1, and Cedric Tomei in the Haas as well, not making it through. Nicholas Longuet, P11, does not make it through to Q3, probably the biggest shock of the session.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, but also a big shout out to Joni Tormela for getting out of Q2 in P9. Great job for him, as we know he hasn't had the strongest of qualifyings in the last couple of races.
This is going to be a very close Q3, but maybe not as close as I expected. We've got a few up there like Lee, Otmir and Tanitsa looking very strong. Rasmussen, of course, still in the mix, but a few of the other drivers clearly lacking just a couple of tenths around here and not being able to hook the car up. Biancalila, in fact, out in 14th, there he is, set the fastest of anybody in the first sector, but had a very steady last and middle sector, losing a couple of tenths in both, and he'll be disappointed with that, because you don't want to be the fastest on track through the first part of the lap and then not make it through to Q3.
Danny Haddad not really sure on what went wrong there. He looked very, very strong all the way through Q1, didn't he? And his first lap, Q2, went really, really well as well. So, yeah, a shame for him. Romanidis, there or thereabouts. I think he's done a decent job. He can definitely race from there, get some points like he did in the last session and last race.
Not a happy bunny.
Longuet, the biggest shock, I would say, in Q2.
Donoso, unfortunately, in the background, still shaking his head, not happy at all with his performance so far. But Nicholas Longuet, he has been one of the guys we expect in qualifying to be right at the front. How does he pick himself up, Nat? You've seen many drivers, I'm sure, you know, ups and downs. It's motorsport, isn't it? How does Nicholas from 11th pick himself up for this evening? There's not that much time to turn around.
I think that's the point, isn't it? Is that in the real world you get to sleep on it, and the old adage that tomorrow is another day kicks in. But you have got to just change your mindset very quickly, put the disappointment behind you, and recognise that you have got another opportunity to prove yourself in just a few hours.
Absolutely, and it's an interesting one, isn't it? The format here, because we've obviously got qualifying. The adrenaline's going to be pumping with these drivers, you know, absolutely on the edge, on the limit. Then they have a couple of hours where it just calms down. Then they're back up again for the race. It's a very odd situation for, I guess, these drivers as humans to go through.
Yeah, but I think after qualifying, they're going to be straight back on practice and trying to make sure they're ready for the race.
Yeah,
but
they won't be going for snoozes. It won't be another day.
It never stops, does it? They can relax after this evening.
In a way, do you want to keep that momentum going? Would you rather keep the adrenaline pumping and race straight away?
Yeah, well, sometimes not, because when you're concentrating for such long periods of time, sometimes your brain can just turn to scrambled egg, and things that initially were really easy for you to do get harder and harder and harder. So sometimes you need that time just to chill out, but also you've got to stay on top of everything so that you don't just chill out completely, because then you've got to come back and get yourself back into the concentration phase.
Awesome stuff. Let's take a look at who did not make it through to the final part of qualifying. And Nicholas Longate, the big shock there, in 11th position, still definitely has an opportunity to score some points for Renault, but it's not where he'd want to start at the Italian Grand Prix. Then Michael Romanidis, Daniele Haddad, who was looking strong in the early stages of that qualifying session, Manuel Biancalila. Tom Deacon will be on the phone to that team to maybe mention a few things, but 14th is definitely not where he wants to start. And Cedric Tomei, he's just going to be looking back at this season and maybe kicking himself that just wasn't able to find that pace because he does have the experience. You can't maybe put it down to nerves as such. It's just not being able to find the time.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be happy he got through to Q2. But yeah, that seems to be where he just stays. And I think now it's about him trying to work on getting into Q3. But boy, is it tough.
Boy, is it tough. Nat, going to thank you for being on the Quali Show once again.
Say, girl, it's tough, you're out.
We had you remotely, now we had you there. Maybe next time you'll actually be on the sofa.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on, Nat. And we'll see you on the evening show.
Brilliant.
Brilliant
Can't
stuff.
wait.
So, Q3, Nick, we're getting to the spicy time.
The business end.
The business end. The business end of the session. Yeah. Who are we expecting? We've seen a couple, Brendan Lee being one of them, where we could have a surprise pole sitter. Yeah,
at the moment, for me, Brendan Lee's looking like he's got the opportunity to take his first pole of the season. And I'd be happy to see him do that. That would be great. So let's see. But you can't, discount Jarno Opmeer and the usual front runners such as Freddie Rasmussen and Marcel Kiefer. So it's going to be a feisty session.
It's going to be a good one. It's not just me and Nick on the sofa. We also have Mr. Alex Jakes. I don't actually know where he is. Where is he? Oh, he's up there still.
I'm up here.
Oh, you're not coming on the sofa? Okay, you are actually cemented to that commentary box.
Now I've got this desk, I'm not giving it up, all right? You know how it works. This is mine now.
You've gone full commentary mode. I love it. So Q3, of course, we had a few interesting results in the first couple of sessions. Danny Beresne out at 20th position. What are we expecting as we now dive into Q3?
Well, looking forward to this one enormously, Matt. We have had a shock in every session so far. Are we going to get another one? Do you think it would be a shock if Brendan Lee was to take his first pole of the year? I guess he's had the pedigree at the start of the F1 Esports Championship, but we haven't seen him figure that much at the front in the last couple of years. Would that count as a shock?
I'd say so. I'd say it's a shock for this season. It wouldn't be a shock for the fact that we know he has the talent, right, Nick? But he's been getting there, so maybe not much of a shock, but it's a happy shock.
I would say more of a relief.
A relief. Would it be a Freddie Rasmussen?
Yeah. A little extra. I think for Brendan, he'll be very happy. It'll be a big sigh of relief.
I want to see the finger wag, even though that was when he was angry, but that's still the trademark from Brendan Lee.
That's the first year, wasn't it?
That was, yeah. That was in Abu Dhabi. God, that feels like ages ago now. But that's where all of this begun, this amazing series which has gone from strength to strength, and the drivers have just continued to just blow my mind with how close and how alien-like they are. Freddie Rasmussen flying into turn one. You can take a bit of liberty on the inside of there, as you would have seen. These drivers know exactly when to turn in and get every tiny margin, because just cutting that inside just a tiny amount, Nick, and getting away with it, that's half a tenth. Yeah, this is where these guys are inch perfect, especially through these chicanes. Look, you can't go anywhere near that exit curb in terms of dropping off the back of it, and you're hitting the gravel. Oh, quite a big oversteer moment on exit there for Rasmussen. Hopefully that hasn't cost him a lot. He still won't be happy with that, but so far so good. Looking like an okay lap. Let's see how he gets on through Ascari, flinging it left, chucking it right, and then left again down the back straight as we head towards Parabolica. So here's Rasmussen on a flying lap. Right now, Marcel Kiefer goes to the top of the timesheets, but I think a lot of these drivers, again, on a used set of soft tyres. So these are kind of mediocre bankers, it has to be said. We're only in the 17.6 territory. Freddie Rasmussen, fastest in the middle sector of anybody. Where does he end up? It's a 17.5. He goes to the top of the timesheets, but we know there's quicker lap times out there. And Brendan Lee, fastest in the first sector, Alex.
He is indeed. David Tanitsa. He might have changed his mascot, but he hasn't changed his speed around here, into second position. But is this the resurgence then of Brendan Lee, who is looking for an opportunity here to restake his claim at the front of the field? But you can lose so much time through the Parabolica. You can get your time invalidated. That looked nicely judged out of the final corner. And he goes over the line, still looking the man to beat. P1 right now.
Yeah, great stuff from Brendan Lee, but we will see the ultimate lap times come later in this session. Bono Huis goes over the line, not going to be happy with that, invalidated in fact as well, so he'll be coming into the pits for the one fresh set of tyres that they have left. Jarno Opmeer, where can he get with this first banker? He's done a 25.8 first sector, which is just under a tenth slower than Brendan Lee, 25.7 middle, so he's going to be up there in the top three if he can judge Parabolica right, Nick. Yeah, and this is really important for him, for his championship, for the blip that Alex said that he's having at the moment, which I agree with, but we know he's got the pace, he's got the talent, and let's see where this lap puts him. It's super important for him to get a good banker in, and that puts him P3, which is the perfect start for him. Yes, there's a nice banker for Jarno Opmeer. Alex, I'm very excited to introduce to you my new graphic, which you're going to really like as well. Cue the graphic. That's just amazing.
You've got too much power here.
Hey,
this is incredibly
This
worrying.
is my show. You be careful, Alex. But yeah, we're 4 minutes and 25 remaining.
You've already got rid of Deacon. I think I'm next.
No, Tom's been on the show for longer than he's ever been today. All the filling. But,
he loved it. I think we should do half an hour afterwards as well. What do you think, chaps?
Absolutely. We've got loads of topics to discuss. But 4 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. This is where the drivers are now coming into the pits for a fresh set. And this is properly, this is where all the positions will be debated. I thought maybe a 17.1. It'll have to be a very sensational lap time to get down to there. I think your prediction of a 0.3, Nick, is more in the ballpark of what we might see. Who's looking good, Alex?
Well, right now, we've seen it's almost like the warm-up before the real thing. So it's interesting to see if anyone's going to be able to take that step forward. And a driver that wasn't able to take the step forward yesterday in qualifying, in Belgium, that is, Jarno Opmeer, left on the back foot, invalidated the lap, and that left him with it all to do as he comes back to the pits. Brendan Lee looking good. Freddie Rasmussen's in super form right now, isn't he? He seems to be in that really confident place. And that is a sharp contrast to what we saw in the opening event of the year, where he cut a frustrated character. He's much more the man that we know and the man who is troubling everyone in the esports field.
Yeah, he's really picked it up, has Freddie Rasmussen, because we were speaking, is Marcel Kiefer the front runner at Red Bull now? Has Freddie Rasmussen tailed off a little bit since last year? As, if you would have seen last year, Freddie was very much in the mix to win the driver's title, but just left it a little bit too late, and David Tanitsa was crowned champion. But right now, Freddie Rasmussen, as you say, Alex, definitely the man to beat. He's always consistently there, And let's not forget, these are bankers that aren't particularly quick, Nick, but we've seen already some mistakes from the likes of Jarno Opmeer around Belgium, where he invalidates his last lap time on the fresh set of softs. So these bankers are still important.
Of course, they're crucial, very, very crucial. Brendan Lee will be very happy with his lap time sitting there. Jarno Opmeer will be happy the fact that he's sitting there in P3. But what I've realised and noticed about the F1 Esports Pro Series is that it doesn't really matter, because it does matter, but it's because...
Turn off, doesn't matter.
Don't clip that up, don't use that.
No, what I'm saying is the time that these guys find on their last laps is incredible. So if you don't get your last lap sorted and across the line, you could literally go from P3 down to P9. I've seen that happen, especially in Q1, where you see drivers come in, they come across the line P5 and they're out in Q1. So every lap is very, very vital and important. So these last laps are going to be very interesting.
So David Tunitsa winding up now on his out lap, and this is going to be probably one of the most exciting ends to qualifying that we've seen, because so many drivers in with a shout for pole. Alex, before we get that underway, who are you putting your money on?
I would be surprised if Brendan Lee can't take that final step forward.
Everybody can't go with Brendan.
Well, everyone's going with Brendan. Well, right now, I think the driver to beat, just full stop, in the championship is Freddie Rasmussen.
I think everyone would love to see Brendan, right? That's what we'd love to see.
Yeah, I think so. Purely for a little bit of variation, and purely because we know he's got the talent. It's always good when a driver comes back. You only have to look at Turkey in The Real Thing to know that we love a driver finding form once again.
Right, I've been told I have one more token for the spicy full screen graphics.
Is it
so
time?
I'm gonna put it in the machine right now.
Go on.
And it's gonna go straight up. There you go. I've got no more tokens now. David Tunitsa, Alex, take us through it.
Here we go then, one of the great racetracks anywhere on earth, Curva Grande, the Ferrari Driver Academy team, highlighted by last year's champion, heading to the second chicane, the Della Rosa. Look at how immaculate it is. Just brush the gravel on the left-hand side. Set up the first Lesmo. Don't lean too much on the outside of the corner. Perfectly judged right now. Putting himself in the ballpark. But then you have to be aggressive in this part of the lap. We are ticking down to the end of the session. It's a wide open battle for pole. This is going to be their fastest laps of the session so far. We've got Alvaro Carreton up in third at the moment. He's been able to take a step forward. But remember, everyone is going to take that step forward immaculately through Ascari, and now waiting in 8th gear. Oh, it seems to be taking an eternity, but it might be a rapid lap time that takes him to the front. Ferrari driver on home soil, albeit virtually. Here he comes then, foot flat to the floor, on the soft tyres, looking to take away pole position, and he's got it for the moment with a 17.2. Now they have to all try and respond, and Freddie Rasmussen was all over the road trying to respond. He knows he's blown it. He's straight back to the pits as a result. So Brendan Lee, we're also going to keep tabs on him. Ferrari 1-2 right now. Tunitsa, Benito 1 and 2. Brendan Lee still in the mix. Here is our championship leader. He's been on the back foot. Can he change all of that with this lap as he comes over the line? He gets himself to the front row. Tunitsa, Opmeer, but here's the danger man. Oh, it's Bono Huis right now. So the teammate of the danger man will wait for Brendan Lee. Bono Huis shows that Mercedes have got good pace. Brendan Lee, can he do it at the end? Brendan Lee cannot. He can't take that step forward. He remains in P5, and David Tunitsa has delivered when it mattered. Danny Moreno is over the line in 9th place. Marcel Kiefer only in 10th, and it's David Tunitsa, after all of his trials and tribulations at Monza, he's on pole.
Well, there you go, Alex. You definitely earned your money there, mate. That was beautiful stuff. The middle sector from David Tunitsa was absolutely sensational. A couple of tenths quicker than pretty much everybody bar Opmeer. And, well, Brendan Lee set the fastest last sector of anybody. He just left it a little bit too late. There's Jarno Opmeer. I don't think he'll be too displeased with second on the grid. It's a good opportunity down towards turn 1, Nick. Yeah, definitely. That's, I think, a sigh of relief for him. He's in the mix. It's exactly where he'll want to be. Start on the front row, and what a place to do it at Monza. This guy, Brendan Lee, he'll be very upset, I would say. He was leading the way, wasn't he? Looking really, really strong to take his first pole of the season. But 5th place isn't a bad place to start. You can see he's kind of shaking his head there. I think Brendan's a little bit disappointed he's not in the top 3 at the very least, especially with his teammate, Bono Huis, up in P4. That's more like it. From the man who's known as one of the biggest veterans in the sim racing scene. He's amazing at pretty much any platform he comes on, and that's a great result from Bono Huis. And Mercedes in a good spot to challenge this evening to at least try and get on that podium.
Yeah, and what Brendan Lee said in terms of Mercedes struggling for pace, but are now starting to come back and find some form. That is so true, isn't it? And they're really showing that. So 4th and 5th, a really good result for them.
We were mentioning about the bankers before we saw those big flying laps at the end. And to be fair, Freddie Rasmussen set such a good banker that even though it was on old soft tyres, P6, that's damage limitation and certainly shows how important that banker was. It must have been a great lap.
Yeah, and he did that, or his lap got invalidated right at the last corner. You could see how wide he went. So he's going to be upset because he'll know with that fresh set of tyres, it's going to give him another 2.5, 3 tenths. You could see David Tonitza was actually up 3.5 tenths or something like that through the middle sector. So that's what a new set of tyres gives you. Freddie Rasmussen knows he's got the pace, but yeah, he's sort of giving it away a little bit. But P6, not the worst place.
And we need to mention Marcel Kiefer, P10.
Yep.
So that's a bit of a shocker for Red Bull, 6th and 10th. Not what we're used to seeing. We've been bigging them up in the quali shows, and they're always consistently near the front. 6th and 10th. I know Danny Beresne down in 20th, but Otmar has a great chance to potentially grab a win and just make sure that gap doesn't get too big at the top of the constructors.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've seen Red Bull sort of struggle, I would say, in qualifying and not get the P1 or P3 scenario. And I think Danny Beresne is going to be looking now at that result and think, damn, you know, if I was in the mix.
It's a big opportunity,
It's a big opportunity that Alfa Romeo as a team has missed. But, you know, that happens sometimes. And let's see what Danny Beresne can do. But it's going to be a very important race for Red Bull to try and salvage something out of quite a bad qualifying for their standards.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Let's take a look at the top 10 classification and what occurred in that final Q3. And David Tonitza back at the top, the reigning champion. He won't be reclaiming his title unless something absolutely manic happens in the final 4 rounds of the season. But he just pips Jarno Otmar to pole position. Enzo Benito, it has to be said, what a great result. After being dropped last time out in Belgium, he now reclaims his spot with a P3 and a fantastic opportunity for FDA Hublot Esports to really secure a great opportunity to get P3 in the constructors. It's still possible. Nobody else has really run away with it. It's just Red Bull and Alfa Romeo, and P3 is still worth a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm going to take Enzo Benito being my favourite driver for qualifying. I think it's a really good result for him. I'm really happy to see Brendan Lee and Bono Huis there in the top 5. Alvaro Caraton, so sorry about that, has done a really good job as well down in P7. But yeah, this is the second 10. So Danny Beresne down in P20, which is a real shame, isn't it? Simon Weigang, not necessarily where he would like to be. And Nicholas Longate, I would say, a very big shock also.
Absolutely, it was a brilliant qualifying session. Really enjoyed how that unfolded. And we've got so many different stories all the way down the field, which will be really interesting to keep an eye on throughout the race we have this evening, right, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because you've got a few drivers out of position, haven't you? And let's see what they can do. But we have seen in the past, with these drivers being so close, it doesn't matter whether you're out of position or not. It's hard to overtake, it's hard to pass, and it's hard to use your pace benefit to get further up the field.
Now, we definitely need a better name for this segment about who underperformed, overperformed, and then who did as expected. Maybe we can come up with a name next time, Nick. But let's go to Alex up in the commentary box to tell us who underperformed, the one that nobody wants.
Yeah, no escaping this one for Danny Beresne, plumb last at the back of the grid. And such a shame as well, because it looked yesterday like he'd turned a corner. It looked like with that fantastic move at the bus stop chicane that he was back to form and he was happy, but fine margins. We talk about it all the time. You can look at how disappointed he is. Just slightly wide, but enough to trigger the track limits, invalidate the lap and leave him with it all to do. Disappointment for him, and nowhere else to look for underachiever.
Awesome stuff, Alex. We'll go to you, Nick, now, for who overperformed. Who do you give it to?
I'm going to go for Bono Ruiz. I think he did a really good job. He's been there or thereabouts, hasn't he, I would say, in the last couple of races. But to get a great lap in, especially to do it here at Monza and to out-qualify his teammate Brendan Lee, who was so strong all the way through qualifying, it's a really good job from him.
Yeah, it's a great result from Bono Ruiz, and he looked pretty happy with himself, looked like he wanted to jump up in celebration, then he's hugging himself, which is quite cute. And I'm going to do who did as expected. Now, I completely disagree with what I've been told to say, but that's fine. It's the gallery saying that they've got some clips ready. But David Tunitsa, from last year's performance and whatnot, we take a look at this. I mean, it's an overperformance for this season, but I guess if you look at it as a whole, if you look at David Tunitsa from last year, this is what we would have expected coming into this one.
Yeah, and it's so good to see him come across the line and go P1. Not much emotion there at all from him, but you know, he's used to it. It's because he knows he hasn't had the easiest of runs this season. I think it stressed him out definitely, and he expects himself to be on the front row. So it's good for him to be there, and let's see what he can do in the race.
Another guest for the Quali Show, as always. We've actually got Bono Ruiz. Although, Bono, I know you're on the line right now. I'm pretty sure everybody says your surname wrong, including us, but we say Ruiz. Is it Hoos?
Yeah.
House? How do we say it, and then how do we continue to be wrong?
You say it House, but whatever you say.
Are you happy with Ruiz?
Ruiz is what I've been called for many, many years now, so yeah, keep it like that.
Awesome. We haven't got you on the phone just to talk about your surname. Bono, it was an awesome qualifying from you. You must be really happy to not only be up in P4, but just ahead of Brendan as well. It must taste a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, it's a good result for us as a team. The best quality result all season, so very happy with that. For me, very unexpected on this track because the feeling wasn't really there all week. So to put it together here on this track suddenly out of nowhere is a bit strange, but we seem to be quick since the first lap in practice. So yeah, hasn't been our season so far, but hopefully tonight we can haul in some good points.
And Brendan's mentioned on social quite a lot about, as a team, you're just lacking a little bit in terms of the setup and just that feel of the car that you mentioned. What is it about Monza that you've been able to find? Is it all down to car setup? Is it sometimes the nuances of the game that some of the other teams like Alfa Romeo and Red Bull have found? What is the difference between the teams, would you say, this year?
It's difficult to say. I mean, if I knew, then we wouldn't be in the position that we were in Silverstone, for example. So we don't know. We keep searching, and we haven't really done anything too different here for this track for Monza. So suddenly we're up there. It's very strange to see. We're a bit surprised ourselves. So, but yeah, hopefully tonight we can move further up the grid and make something happen up front.
And Bono, just quickly from me, obviously you've got your teammate behind you, Brendan Lee. You said it's the best result for both of you guys for this season. Are you going to work together in this evening's race to work your way through the field? What's your strategy?
Oh, I don't know if he'll tell you that. Tell us that, will he?
Yeah, we have a really good relationship. So we're always working together very well. In Spa, we did the same thing. So we never really tried to get in each other's way. So it's nice to be sharing the row with him on the grid.
Bono, what's possible this evening? We've seen amazing teamwork from Red Bull in Austria, as well as in Belgium as well, in terms of the energy deployment, because it helps so much more when you're with your teammate. What can you and Brendan manage this evening, do you reckon?
Yeah, we just hope to be in that fight. Turn one at Monza is always very, very tricky. So first of all, try and get through that without any issues. And then just try and stay with the leaders and fight with them. As you say, it's all about ERS and DRS, so it's important to do the first lap clean so you stay in that train. And then after that, anything can happen, really.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Bono, for your time, and best of luck this evening for the race.
Yes, thanks, guys.
It's great to see, isn't it, where the new challengers, I mean, I say new challenger, Bono Ruiz is a veteran of sim racing, but in terms of having these newer names that we're not so used to seeing throughout this season, it's just been the usual names, the Longays, the Rasmussens, the Kiefers. To have Bono Ruiz and Brendan Lee hungry for making some points up at Monza this evening. Yeah,
and it's great for me being new to this whole scenario, to see Bono having a great interview, looking really, really mature. He knows what he wants. Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting race for both Brendan Lee and Bono Ruiz. I said his name wrong straight away. Wow.
We got the clarification and then butchered it immediately. I love it.
But let's wait and see. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you're watching and you fancy taking part potentially next year, take a look at this. you go. It's not actually that easy, is it, Nick? I mean, as much as we watch and it just looks so simple for the drivers and they're always on the limit, so quick. Whenever you just load up the game, it's quite difficult, isn't it?
It really is.
But anyway, if you want to actually get involved, then or you can match Lando's P7 or better, then you'll be placed on the leaderboards on f1esports.com, of which the top 7 per platform will go to the Challenger Series, and you could have a very good chance of being potentially in the Gfinity Arena if COVID allows, and it'll be finishing at the end of December. Do you fancy your chances, Nick? You were part of the virtual Grand Prix. It's a difficult game, as we've mentioned. Where would you need to hone your skills, do you think, to get up with these guys?
Pretty much everywhere. I didn't get a lot of practice for the virtual Grand Prix, but I mean, watching these guys and seeing the eye to detail that they have and what they do, it actually helps. Anybody that wants to get into F1 esports, watch these guys, watch how well they work together as a team, but also what they do with their ERS and how they manage everything. It could help you with your qualification when you're Lando.
Quick correction, it's end of November, so you've got less time to practice and be Lando with fresh tyres, very quick around COTA. COTA, are you a fan of that track, Nick? Is it one of those that, it's actually quite an exciting track to race around, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never driven there personally myself. I've obviously been there to watch Lewis. It's a fantastic spectacle, great circuit, especially going into turn 1 when you go up, you rise up, and then straight back down after turn 1. Really flowing corners, but it's a long circuit, isn't it? So there's a lot of places to make mistakes and give away lap time. But yeah, a great circuit.
Awesome stuff. Now, we're pretty much done for the quali show. It's been a long one, but we've got through the Italian Grand Prix qualifying. Now, 7:30 this evening, you will see the evening show and the race around Italy. We'll also see the highlights from the United Kingdom and Belgium. And it'll be a very exciting one to see if Red Bull can just start to look like they're about to clinch the Constructors' Championship. Can Jarno Opmeer hold on at the top of the drivers? It's getting very close and tasty, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting race, isn't it? Because you've got Marcel Kiefer down in P10, not where he wants to be, Rasmussen in P6. Those two have got to work as a team to try and get as many points as possible. But then you've got Mercedes in the mix, haven't you? It'll be great to see what they can do, maybe snatch a podium away. And Tonitza coming back, fighting strong and starting from pole. So it's going to be a hell of a race.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you to Nick, thank you to Natalie, thank you to Tom, thank you to Alex, thank you to everybody that's been on the quali show. We'll see you at 7:30 p.m. GMT to see if Jarno Opmeer can hold on at the top of the Drivers' Championship.